On this episode of the DTVC podcast, Jon Cross from After Movie Diner and PM Entertainment Podcast is going to be on, and we're going to be looking at Bedroom Eyes and Bedroom Eyes 2, so stay tuned for that. Also, this episode that I did with Jon when I recorded, we had about a good hour and a half or so of additional material that was just stuff that wasn't, it was kind of tangentially related to the movies, but it was just us riffing on stuff. So I've taken that out of this episode. I'm going to package it into a kind of another episode. I'm not sure if that's going to be a DTVC extra or just going to be a regular podcast episode, just because one of the things about DTVC Extra, I actually, he's the only person who's been a guest on a DTVC Extra, and it was a really good one. It was Blood Fist 3 and 4, so you can see that one in the archives there. But usually I don't like to have the guests on the DTVC Extra because they don't do as well as the main podcast episodes, and so you kind of want as many ears as possible, on those episodes. But it was a lot of fun. I mean, some of the stuff that happened when we recorded, that just to give you some hints on things, like he got an offer for somebody who wanted him to a guest to be on his podcast. I guess their booking agent or somebody was reaching out to him, and the person was into cyber security conspiracies and things like that. So yeah, and he was kind of reading the email on the air. So a lot of really fun stuff there that we cover. So again, keep an eye out for that second episode. But for tonight's episode, we're going to be looking at Bedroom Eyes and Bedroom Eyes 2. And we'll look at that just a bit. Then in terms of other future episodes, so again, we'll have that second episode with Jon. Interesting about that episode, because I know the guys from Comeuppance, they do what they call a hangout episode. And that might be kind of what we phrase it as. But speaking of Comeuppance, I did record with Ty for his May episode. We're going to be looking at, what are we looking at? Taken at Rio Bravo and 12 to Midnight, the Robert Bronzi movie. So it's funny, I'm asking what we're talking about. We just recorded it last night. But sometime in May I'll have that episode up. So it'll probably depend on how other recordings happen, because, with Ty's episodes, I like to have them kind of in the middle of the month, because I know, he's going to be on every month. So I try to space them out like that. But depending on how the other recordings go, maybe we get him in there sooner. But yeah, keep an eye out for that as well. Then DTVC Extra, I am thinking about doing a Daredevil Born Again episode. So keep an eye out for that, maybe this week sometime. Finished watching that. I was just kind of thinking in terms of Daredevil himself, there's kind of some fun places I can go, the conversation there between my own history with it, and then also the history of the character and how that character kind of emerged, and also the live action versions of the character. So so stay tuned for that. Probably sometime this week we'll get that episode out as well. Probably record that maybe later on this week. So that's the podcast. And then in terms of the site, I think we're going to do Acts of Vengeance. It's either between that or Darkness of Man. So one of those two, we'll get that up this weekend. I know I've been mentioning about wanting to do Baby in the Basket, which, as an indie post, I was hoping to maybe do that this week, and I thought I was going to have time to do it this week, and then it just didn't happen, which I'm sure you're probably thinking Easter weekend, of course, Matt, you're busy. Yeah, in America, we don't get Easter weekend. There's Easter Sunday, right? But I'm already off on Sunday. It's not a paid holiday or anything like that. There are some stores that have it as a paid holiday, but there's no Friday off and no Monday off. So I know most of my listeners in the Western world, right? I know we have a lot of listeners in Italy, I think New Zealand, the UK, Germany, everybody, right? You get Friday through Monday off. You get Good Friday off. You get Little Easter off. Not in America. I know a lot of people think of that well, America's a very religious country, right? You must have, you'd have a religious holiday like that off, wouldn't you? No, it's not how it works. Religion doesn't work the same way as, in the terms of worshiping that way. It's more about sort of a corporate thing in that sense. And so when corporations rule like that, you don't get a lot of days off, including Easter. I mean, we had to work pretty hard for a 5-day work week. And I say we, it's people before me that did all that work. I just got to roll out of bed and do my job. But there were people that did a lot of, went through a lot just to get us a 5-day work week. I believe we have 6 holidays in America that are observed, that a company has to observe, right? It's New Year's, Memorial Day, 4th of July or Independence Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. Those are the 6. There are about another 6 bank holiday type deals where government offices are closed, but companies don't have to give you those days off. They don't have to pay you extra for those days. They don't have to honor those days at all. So it's another interesting facet about living in America. So one of my coworkers was like, "Oh yeah, you Americans," he's from the UK originally. He's like, "You Americans love to work." It's it's not because we love to work. It's because our politicians get paid a lot of money by corporations to not give us days off. Though it is interesting with Juneteenth, because there are a lot of Americans that would rather be racist and not have Juneteenth off which does kind of not make a lot of sense. Like you want to be racist so bad that you don't want a day off from work. That is an interesting wrinkle in that. But yes, so just all that to say, I had to work Friday, I had to work Monday, so I didn't have as much time available as I thought to do that post. But hopefully we'll get that one up soon. Get the baby basket. There is a podcast episode on that, so you can look back in the archives. I did have the guys, Nathan Shepka and Tom Joliffe, who made that movie on, so you can check them out as well. Yeah, I think that's everything. I was trying to think if I've guested on anything recently, but I haven't. So, again, my novels, in particular, Nadia and Aiden is my newest one. Link to that is in the podcast description. Always appreciate if somebody wants to pick up one of my books. Always, that kind of support is always appreciated. But yeah, why don't we, we'll stop things here and have Jon Cross who's our guest coming up here, but also from Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures, with his musical project, his band. He did our theme song, so he's going to play in our theme song there, and then when we come back, we'll have Jon from After Movie Diner. One other thing I want to mention, this is our first time recording on Jitsi. It was the first time him recording on Jitsi. We did record with Todd and then Ty recently as well, but whenever you start the recording on Jitsi, this woman's voice comes in and says, "Recording is on." And it just was cracking up Jon the whole time. So some of the rejoins that we have, because Jitsi was kicking us off a lot as well, some of those rejoins is going to be a lot of laughing and goofing around about stuff like that. That's what it's in reference to. Also, you may notice a couple of edits that seem a little bit off, and again, the same thing. Sometimes we would just Jitsi would cut us out. So still trying to get the hang of Jitsi compared to Skype. Again, it makes for kind of a fun conversation. So definitely stay tuned for that after our theme song here. Oh, and one other thing, I do have to give spoiler alerts here. We can't talk about these movies without giving spoilers, so just keep that in mind. We're gonna have spoiler alerts as well. But yeah, I know I've been on talking for more than 6 minutes here, so why don't we have Jon playing our theme song, and when we come back, we'll be looking at Bedroom Eyes and Bedroom Eyes 2. All right, we are back at the smooth sounds of the Jits. The thing is, I don't think people can hear the voice when we do the recording. I don't think they hear
I wish they heard the voice.
On. Yeah, I don't think it comes through, so people don't even know what we're talking about. So everybody,
the recording is on.
Everybody's gonna start using Jitsi just to hear. Jitsi is completely free. It's crowdsourced. It's a free version of Zoom, so you can just go log in, start your own thing, and hit the record button. You can hear it, so you'll know what we're talking about here. But yeah, what
now? Could you send this link right now and people watch it live or not? No,
there is a way to live stream it. Yeah, there is. I haven't figured out how to do it, but we could do it. I think you have to stream it through like a YouTube or something like that. But you can do. But this does do live stream. I'll have to look into it and see how it works. But yeah, I can give it a try and see. Maybe we'll get a practice of me just randomly talking about something on YouTube or something. We'll see it as we get to work. But yeah, our movies here, we're talking about classic or Bedroom Eyes. I think is a DTV or it's not a DTV. I think it did get a small theatrical release in Canada, but a erotic thriller classic, kind of early, right? I mean, 84. It's early for thriller.
Yeah. It got it's an erotic thriller. It got a small release in Canada where it was only released in very small theaters. Right. So it was like released in a Winnipeg black box theater. Right. You know what I mean? Like just a very small.
I was gonna say
auditorium.
Brampton, not Toronto, right? Yeah. So that extends the knowledge that I have of towns outside of big cities in Canada. Brampton.
It just toured Yellowknife and
Yellowknife. Yes, right. The gold miners in Yellowknife. All bearded guys are kind of waltzing.
It went to Kamloops and Yellowknife. I'm just naming
Moose Factory.
Like Moose smaller Factory. Towns that I know in Moose Factory. Yeah, the Moose Knuckle, I don't know. Anyway, yes, go ahead.
But so the plot of this movie is Kip Gilman is a goofy become leading man playing a day trader, a stockbroker, whatever, who has a thing for like peeking in people's windows, and he happens to catch this woman doing like a voyeur show for a guy, and he just has to keep going back every night. And so he realizes there's something not right about this. So he starts talking to a therapist played by, I think, Dale Holman, or Hellman is her name. But he goes to see
She's
her.
dead, so I know.
Right. Yeah, she just passed away recently, unfortunately. Yes, she was.
Dale Haddon.
Yeah, that's right, Dale Haddon. Yeah, I didn't pull up IMDb yet, which I should have. Actually, I do. I have Mark Blucas.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize she died in 2024. I thought she died years ago. I'm sorry.
No,
okay,
it was very recent.
That was mean of me to make that joke.
No, that's okay. That's right. No, it was like a leaky like boiler or something like that. She got carbon monoxide poisoning. It was it's kind of a fluke thing that happened. But no, Kip Gilman, I should say, is
and
still
yet
with us.
Kip Gilman still breathes.
Right, Kip Gilman is still with us. I mean, take a look at his picture on IMDb. He's leading into Kip Gilman. Like in this movie, he's trying to fight Kip Gilman, right? He's like, no, I can be a leading man. I can be, But by the 2020s, he's no, I know who Kip Gilman is, and I'm going to be 100% Kip Gilman.
I'm going to play. He looks like in his photograph a horny maitre d' from a telenovela. Yes. Doesn't he? Like, I'm going to play a swarthy restaurateur in a Mexican American co-production, The Heat over Miami or whatever.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, pretty much.
Show up and go, I'm Kip Gilman, Silver Fox.
But one night he's peeking in at this house, and he sees a murder, and now he's trying to solve the murder, but also because he's Mr. Prowler, the police think he's the killer because they've got all this forensic evidence that ties into the crime. And so he's got to clear his name.
The handprints on the window.
Oh,
the handprints on the window. They put powder on it, and it's literally like the most perfect handprint.
Right. It's like a
oh, that was incredible.
Oh, it's like the
that
Beaver.
Was like a cartoon. That was like a Bugs Bunny, like
right. It'd be like Leave It to Beaver, right? With the beaver's like staring at like like an exotic bird at a pet store, just like and he walks away and his big handprints are left there. That's Kip Gilman in this movie. He's a grown up beaver.
That's hilarious.
I mean,
his photograph on IMDb looks like we were saying earlier about the guy in Barstow. He wouldn't be in Vegas. He would be on like one of the outer towns, right?
Right.
He never got to Vegas. He ran out of money. This guy would be Kip Gilman looks like a hypnotist in the casino that guy drinks in. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
He looks like an end of the pier, rundown Barstow casino hypnotist.
Yes.
I'm Kip Gilman, hypnotist, right? And he's got like the red shirt, this would be his headshot with the hair all blown back, and posing with a lion or some shit, Right.
Well, because the thing is, that was always Kip Gilman, but in 1984, in Bedroom Eyes, he's trying to play off that he's some kind of leading man. And the other thing that's fascinating with this movie is the whole concept of an erotic thriller hadn't fully been fleshed out yet. I mean, I think go ahead.
Sorry. I just see the poster. Kip Gilman, cat hypnotist. And it's just him with an enormous lion or tiger or something, or a panther or something. Right. Kip Gilman, cat hypnotist.
Right. It's and even in 1984, that was Kip Gilman. And it's the strangest thing about this movie, because you get all kinds of interesting actors playing erotic thriller leads. I mean, when we get Wings Hauser in the sequel, he makes much more sense as Harry Ross than Kip Gilman does in this movie. The only thing is, this movie has established that Kip Gilman is Harry Ross, so that when you turn around and say in the next movie that it's Wings Hauser, it makes no sense. But I mean,
it makes sense. It makes sense if these movies sort of a bit like Phantasm, like other worlds, that you can't quite fully touch.
Right.
Because we'll get into this a little bit, especially with Bedroom Eyes, but it's the same for the sequel as well. But they're movies despite themselves. Like, they're not really movies. They are movies in the sense that you go, okay, but they're just slightly like, wait, what? They're just slightly off their axis. They're movies that almost approximate movies without actually really being movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Canadian films.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's very Canadian, this film.
This is right. This movie is, if you're thinking of Canadian music, I think this might be like the Glass Tiger of like if you're comparing Canadian music, right? This is not like the Guess Who or anything of that level. This is Glass Tiger. You can listen to Someday or whatever, it sounds good enough. It'll get you through. When I'm hammered, I'll like to listen to a little Glass Tiger. That's some of their big hits, but I'm not, I don't know. I was trying to think of like the pinnacle of Canadian cinema. I mean, Crash, I guess, is technically Canadian cinema, right? When we talked about that on for
Crash is most. I mean, Crash is very Canadian. Yeah.
Yeah.
The best thing is his IMDb bio reads this. In addition to his extensive film and television work, Kip has been called by critics one of theater's most important actors. Who called Kip Gilman anything other than, waiter, can I get another scotch, please? No one ever called Kip Gilman one of theater's most important actors. Right. Most important. He hypnotizes cats in a tiny rundown casino. He's not an important actor. Kip Gilman could die tomorrow. And literally no one would know. That's such a harsh thing to say. I don't mean it, Kip. Come back to me. I love you.
We love you, Kip. But the reality is I mean, this is a guy who, he's not even like a sitcom star. He's like a one-off. And if you look at his bio, it's all these one-offs on sitcoms. He's like the kooky, he's like the dad, like Stephen Gross, I guess, with the dad on Michael Gross, I guess, Stephen Keaton, like that dad's brother or cousin shows up into town. It's Kip Gilman is the wacky, like, dad's cousin who shows up on one episode of a sitcom, does something goofy, maybe has a serious thing, like and then he leaves.
But he has the best. Dude, scroll through his headshots on IMDb. He has literally got, this is glasses, Kip Gilman. This is mustache and soul patch, Kip Gilman. This is mysterious lawyer with just mustache, Kip Gilman. This is Kip Gilman as a wacky stepdad with a goatee beard. He literally has different beards in his fucking IMDb photos. Oh, bless you, Kip. Bless you. You sweet man. You sweet, sweet man, Kip Gilman.
I was trying to think what I knew him from. He was the doctor on Nurses. My mom used to watch that on like Lifetime or something. It was like a rerun. That's like the cleanest, like most leading manist Kip Gilman. But you're right. Like when you look at his headshots, it's like the picture of him from Nurses, right, and the cast shot, and then it's Kip Gilman with a villainous goatee. Clean shaven Kip Gilman, right? If you need him for like to play the pastor in your Christian movie, it's like, yeah. Right.
I like slightly tasseled head hipster Gilman with soul patch and mustache.
Right.
Sleazy attorney or dodgy cop on the take. Right. Kip Gilman with a thin John Waters mustache.
Right.
There's literally John Waters Kip Gilman in his...
Right. If you're doing a John Waters direct-to-video biopic, you can cast Kip Gilman as John Waters.
If you're doing... Oh, can you imagine this Christmas? The Hallmark Channel brings a Waters Christmas. Kip Gilman is John Waters.
I bet
Josh Gad is John... Josh Gad is Divine.
I was going to say it was Divine. And Ricky Lake as herself, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Ricky. And as Ricky Lake. A Waters Christmas.
I bet you anything.
And it starts And like Josh Gad does a whole comedy bit around eating dog shit, and Hallmark's just like, shut it down. Shut it down.
They're like pulling the gaffer's tape off like the gazebo in like the Vancouver town that they shoot all those movies in. They're just like ripping everything off. It's just like get out of
They're
here.
just like shut it down.
Right.
Shut it down. We didn't know who John Waters was. No. We thought he was the guy from that video on SNL. We didn't realize he was actually like as a filmmaker who made some pretty disgusting and wonderful things.
Yeah, they just call David Dakota in and say, "Can you just bang out a five-day Christmas movie for us? We're done with this Waters thing."
Who do we have as John Waters? Kip Gilman. Kip Gilman. I heard he's one of theater's most important actors.
And David Dakota's like, great, you can play the guy who runs the record store. Your tousled hair looks perfect for the record store guy for one scene.
Yeah, could you grow the soul patch back, please, Kip? Because the thin mustache is unnerving everybody. People don't want to leave you alone with their children. It's a real problem.
No. And again, just to bring.
But in Bedroom Eyes,
yeah,
in Bedroom Eyes, he plays the whole thing like John Ritter.
Right. Yes.
Like John Ritter via Woody Allen. It's
right.
What's weird about Bedroom Eyes is it so much wants to be a Peter Bogdanovich film. It doesnn't want to be a sexual. It wants to be, like the John Ritter Peter Bogdanovich movie with the girlfriend Dorothy Stratton in it, whatever. What's it called? They All Laughed or something.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking
about. That movie.
Yeah.
This Kip Gilman wants to be John Ritter in They All Laughed, and he thinks this is a fucking bad fucking Bogdanovich comedy. And it is. Bedroom Eyes is like a bad Bogdanovich comedy. If occasionally either De Palma or Tinto Brass showed up and filmed a lot of unnecessary stocking shots.
Right.
Bedroom Eyes is obsessed with stocking tops.
Oh, yes,
and like garter belts. And the two famous purveyors of that in cinema, of course, are Tinto Brass and Brian De Palma. Because this also wants to be this wants to be Peter Bogdanovich directs the slasher with Michael Caine. What's it called? The De Palma slasher with Michael Caine in it. Oh fuck! Why can't I think of the name? Dress to Kill.
That's all right. It's all right. Well, I can.
So he wants it to be Peter Bogdanovich's Dress to Kill, but on a Canadian budget. That's what Bedroom Eyes is.
Yeah. I see. The other element that I saw for this is that again, it seems like in the early '80s, like you said, it's Peter Bogdanovich. I also saw Blake Edwards in here. Like it's almost like there's too much Blake Edwards mixed in with the Brian De Palma. And by the time,
dude, John Ritter did a Blake Edwards movie.
Right, I was going to say, yeah, it doesn't know what an erotic thriller is yet. It's the kind of thing that my friends and I, if we had rented this in the early '90s, we would have been annoyed by it. We were like, "What is this? This is ridiculous. What is this stupid movie?" But watching it now, it's like a fascinating piece of erotic thriller history. Right, like it's almost like it's like think about like old timey baseball, right? In like the late 19th century of like guys with like bare hands and like curly mustaches throwing the ball. It's like it's like that.
Or when you find VHS pornography by a railway siding or in a woodland clearing near where there's been a bonfire, and you take it home and it's a 70s pornographic film, like hardcore pornographic film. And everyone, for some reason, is either slightly orange or slightly brown. Like it's just everything on the screen is sort of weirdly faded. There's way more body hair than you're comfortable with in pornography. Like there's a lot of body hair in 70s pornography. And also you kind of, when you watch the 70s or even 60s or even like the early like nudie cuties or whatever, you kind of go, it's weird. Pornography before like 1982 is weird. It's just you look at it and you go, this shouldn't exist. The pornography seems to exist primarily in the 80s and 90s in my head. Like in my head, 80s and 90s pornography was where it's at. But when you see anything for me before the 1980s, you go, I can't, like it's I know that sex has always existed. I mean, Jesus palled around with prostitutes. I'm not saying, meaning like sex work and pornography and dirty drawings and, crude lithographs and, sexual wax carvings or whatever. Like, it's always existed, right? We've always wrestled with our penises because, that's the story is written by man's smaller, dumber head. Anyway, that's history is written by. So I get it, but when you see it, you're almost like, this shouldn't exist. It's wrong that this exists.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's wrong. Like when you watch those very early, because a lot of the early Hollywood movies before like sound came along or whatever were just, all right, women, get your tops off. Like they were all just, and they're dancing with their breasts out and they're eating breakfast with their breasts out. Like it's just, it's, they're frolicking in their apartment or whatever. And so, it's always been around, but when you see it, you go, there's just something weird about seeing a nipple from the 1930s. It just doesn't seem to make any sense.
Right. No, I totally get it. It's a fascinating thing. It's an absolutely, and I think it's the thing is that like in the 90s with the real erotic thrillers being in their peak at that time, you watch something like this and you're like, this isn't good. But like you said, you watch it now and it's just, like that analogy of like 70s porn where you're just like, like that was like kind of a similar thing when I was a kid, in the 90s. Someone would oh, I got a porn, and people were like, oh, you got a porn? Okay, let's go watch it. And then you'd be like, wait, what is this? Like, what is going on here,
Why is everything in this house beige and made out of like leatherette? Why is there so much wood paneling in this pornography?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Why does that man have a mustache that looks like a raccoon's tail was nailed to his upper lip?
Right. Exactly. Now, I mean,
you're like, it's.
I was gonna. This movie has some interesting moments in it. The one that stood out to me is
I would say.
Yeah, I mean, one I will have to mention, of course. So the main character, he sees a psychiatrist, and then she has a thing for him and follows him around. And she follows him to get dinner. Now he goes out to dinner with his coworker, who earlier in the film, the coworker is like kind of throwing herself at Kip Gilman. Her name's Carolyn, and you're thinking like, well, why wouldn't he go for her? Why is he messing around with this whole voyeur thing when he's got this really hot coworker?
Also, by the way, the blonde coworker way hotter than the woman in the room that we're meant to be all being like, oh. At one point, she turns around and goes, he goes, oh my goodness, you're so beautiful, and she goes, I know, and like walks out the room, and I'm like, no, she's not. I mean, look, even by 1984 standards, she's not. Like Goldie Hawn was around in 1984, so like this, whatever this woman is with this like insane shock of like aunties in the 70s style red hair that's meant to be like, oh, it's red hair and her head looks like the tip of a penis. You're like, no, it's not. It looks like my Aunt Mildred, who just took her clothes off, and it's unappealing because she's all lumpy and weird and bony, but in an 80s way where you kind of go, it's not attractive. It's not like now, anyway. And it's fine. Like everyone's like, oh, he's judging the beautifulness of women. The whole movie's called Bedroom Eyes. Right. Stop it. I didn't do it. They did it. They paraded her around in stocking tops and tried to make me erect. Wasn't me. Anyway, it didn't work, by the way, but they tried. They tried. They were like, men, it's still that time when I'm like, they all think it's kind of there's still this generation of men for which like the can in France is still like sexually titillating, you know what I mean? So like, oh, stocking tops and garter belts, and oh, if I just brush my overcoat aside, you'll see my stocking tops.
Right.
Yeah, all right, okay. Like that's this kind of movie, though. I mean, there's boobs, but you're not talking about the boobs. You're talking about the stocking tops, because I feel like there's way more stuff to talk about with the stocking tops and what kind of weird 1930s Parisian can dancing nonsense you thought we were all into in 1984. But anyway,
exactly. Well, so we wonder why he's not going for her instead of doing this whole voyeur thing.
Oh, right. Sorry. Yes. So the blonde woman that he's going out with, she's like, okay, she is hot to trot. Yeah. She's taking his shoes off and like masturbating herself in the restaurant with his oh, his naked toe. You don't even know this guy.
So
He's been in an office all day.
Right. So that scene there, that comes from a Sal Bellow book. So Sal Bellow, Nobel laureate author, who is no longer with us, but he's from Montreal originally. But it was either Humboldt's Gift or Herzog. I think it's Herzog, where the main character is out to eat with I think with his girlfriend, and she takes his foot and she orgasms. He uses his foot to take herself to orgasm, and he describes it in the book. And I'm watching, I'm like, wait a second, the screenwriter, the filmmaker here is a Sal Bellow fan. They're pulling something, it's like Sal Bellow stuff is coming in, it's like a Nobel laureate author has stuff that's ending up in say what you want about that. So it's kind of crazy to see like that kind of thing where you're just like, oh, and of course, for me, most people, I think if they read any Sal Bellow, it's like, kind of his more known books like Henderson the Rain King or Adventures of Augie March. I just was a fan of his stuff, so I kind of got deeper into his books, and I don't remember.
It's
a
okay
lot.
like toe fucking, Matt. It's okay to like toe fucking. You can own. It's 2025. You can own your fetish. Just tell us. You like toe fucking.
No,
It's fine.
I mean,
We'll accept it. It's fine. No, you like people who fuck people with toes. Just say it. Just say it, Matt. Purge yourself. No, I'm kidding.
I was just like, I was surprised that somebody was pulling Saul Bell, but I guess with these writers, I mean, I guess like Philip Roth, he does like quite a bit of transgressive stuff. I guess you could put his stuff in erotic thrillers too, but Kip Gilman is like,
but then it's an erotic. You have this scene where she's orgasming
with his toe, his voice, right with his toe,
and then you have the waiter come over and arch his eyebrow like he's in a 70s British sex farce. He's like, oh, mister. Like the eyebrow goes like up fucking like 45 degrees. And he's like, oh, madam. And Kip Gilman has to be all like, well, I'm in my feet ache after work or whatever. What is going on? This improv masterclass from Kip Gilman.
Kip Gilman. Yes. And of course,
improv masterclass, Kip Gilman, and it has those little paper telephone numbers you tear off at the bottom. Improv masterclass with important actor Kip Gilman.
With that picture, that headshot, right? Like taped to like a telephone pole, right? With that picture and the little tabs. Right? I will tell you, like Kip Gilman is selling this scene like a John Ritter, Blake Edwards, Peter Bogdanovich movie, right?
Yes, he is.
That's his inspiration for this scene. Yeah. It's Jack Tripper, but more like, I would say, not even Blake Edwards. It's more like Jack Tripper, like if he was like in a Three's Company, like the episode they didn't air, where like he's on a date with some woman and she's doing this, and then Janet walks in and she's like, oh my God, what's going, Or Mr. Furley,
but the waiter who comes over.
Right.
The waiter is. If I said, trouble is I want to like reference like Carry On films and things like that, and or like Robin Asquith in Adventures of a Taxi Driver, or one of those, or Adventures of a Window Washer, or whatever, and it's all like Lord Lubberducks, look at the nooks on Margery, it's all that kind of stuff. It's all like, oh, matron, go run, get a bedpan. Oh, it's all that kind of humor. And the Brits, listen, I love it. When I came to this country, everyone was like, oh, the Brits are so intelligent. They make all these classy films and blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, at 2 a.m. growing up, I'm watching like 50-year-olds run around in their underwear, spanking each other's bottoms, going, oh, Margaret, whatever. Wabbity, waggity, whoa.
The only thing I would say is like, who's telling you that? Because when I grew up, right, when in high school, we first started getting Comedy Central, and when I would come home from school, Benny Hill would be on, like kind of towards the end of my day in high school. So I would always come home for the end of like the yakety sax thing with the chase around and the women having their clothes ripped off and all that stuff. And it's like,
so the Carry On films were sort of Benny Hill adjacent. They did slapstick, but it was more like, man bends down to pick up a pail of water, shorts fall off, the trombone goes, whoa, like that. And then, some girls giggle. And then when he goes to pull up his shorts, he falls into the pail of water. It's that kind of like bawdy nonsense. And they're all, by the way, None of them are attractive. The requisite to be in a British sex comedy, even Robin. So they were all the Carry On guys were like 50 and over, even the women, just big like 50 matronly women. And then Barbara Windsor, who was kind of like the cheeky Cockney lass with the big boobs, right? She was cute in a sort of, East End London pub bar wench type. And in fact, she ended up playing an East End bar wench in a TV series literally called EastEnders. Anyway, this is true. She talks on hello, Barbara Windsor. Anyway, so oh, look at him. So they're all ugly and they're all over 50, except Barbara Windsor, who's kind of cute, but in a pork pie kind of way. Look like when you look at a little pork pie and you're like, oh, it's a cute pork pie. She's kind of like that. And wonderful. Or you get Robin Asquith, who looks like if oh fuck. Who's the monkey that's still alive that looks really fucking weird with the cowboy hat all the time?
Mickey Dolenz? No, Tommy.
Mickey Dolenz.
Mickey
He's
Dolenz,
got,
right, yeah.
Yeah, he looks like if Mickey Dolenz and Robin Asquith, who's in the so-called like sexy younger 20-somethings knockabout. Robin Asquith looks like if Mickey Dolenz and Mick Jagger had like an ugly baby, and then they forced that ugly baby to run around wearing saggy Y-fronts, like not even tight shorts or tight briefs, like saggy, like old man Y-fronts, and he would like run around, and women would like, they'd get a hose and some bubbles, and they'd like pour bubbles in his butt and pour water down the back of his underpants, and he'd be like, oh, leave my butt alone or whatever, and they'd all be like, oh, running after him and trying to make it, and there's bubbles going everywhere, whatever. I don't know, like it's that kind of thing. And even that, you're just like, everyone is so ugly. Like Brits, no one is as ugly as the English. They really are. The English are a hideous people, and I count myself among them. We are wonky teeth, swivel-eyed, overweight, saggy in all the wrong places, tight in all the wrong places.
Well, it's funny because you have is it Charlie Davies, right? Or Charlie what is his name? Not Charlie Davies. The guy who's doing Daredevil, plays Daredevil. Is from England.
Oh,
why would I call him Charlie Davies when he's not Charlie Davies? He's Charlie something else. He's and maybe he is, but
our memories have gone, dude. Our memories. I feel like Kip Gilman came and stole my memory. I feel like Kip Gilman's cat hypnotist profile poster has come out of the screen and sucked a day of my life away.
I know. Oh, Charlie Cox. Why not Charlie Davies? Charlie Cox.
Oh, Charlie Cox. Oh, Charlie Cox. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, it like a Robin Asquith. I think that's the thing in America is that I guess you could have like, you could be like a Buster Poindexter, because that's like the closest comp, I think, to Charlie Asquith, who unfortunately Buster Poindexter, aka David Johansen, passed away recently.
Also, by the way, what gene was introduced to Australia where suddenly everyone's really attractive? If you watch Australians like the English, the Australians from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, really ugly people. And I don't mean that like the Brits are ugly. The English are really ugly, staggeringly ugly. I mean, the Welsh are quite attractive occasionally, and the Scots have their moments, but the English are they're catastrophically ugly people. And I count myself among their people. Every so often we shit out a Hugh Grant, but it's like once in a fucking blue moon. You know what I mean? Ewan McGregor has to be put together for people to even be like, is Ewan McGregor still cute? You know what I mean? Like, it's a questionable attractiveness. You know what I mean? Ireland, very attractive people. Very attractive, the Irish. Not the like salt of the earth Irish, but the like Pierce Brosnan Irish. You know what I mean? Yeah. They're pretty attractive. Right. But anyway, we digress again. But like in general, staggeringly unattractive. Also, Australia, right up until like Nicole Kidman was like the first attractive Australian. Every Australian prior to Nicole Kidman was hideous. And then what's funny is through the process of constant face modifications, Nicole Kidman now looks like an ugly Australian. That's what's hilarious. She spent her entire life to look like an ugly Australian who wouldn't look out of place in a, in a saggy bra and panties running about the outback with the flabby guy from the Crocodile Dundee movies being like, "Oh, come on, Jim, let's go catch ourselves a Sheila." That's what it would be like.
Right.
Anyway, why are we on this? Oh, right, because Bedroom Eyes is sort of the American equivalent of these movies. Yeah.
Right. It is. Right. It's erotic thriller. It doesn't know what an erotic thriller is yet, and it's throwing all these things against the wall that it thinks a movie should be, including Kip Gilman.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, there's this scene where Kip Gilman he's talking to the psychiatrist, and she's asking him all these invasive questions about his sex life, and she's asking him if he's gay. She's asking him all these things, and he's like, "I'm not gay," because that was still like a thing back then. And like all this wholly inappropriate stuff that ends up, becoming it's just such a fascinating movie. But the Kip Gilman aspect of it is the thing that just like,
he really does. He Gilmans up the whole movie, and it shouldn't be Gilman. It shouldn't have been Gilman, but it was Gilman, and it's because I suppose the like what's interesting about this, and I hadn't thought about this till right now, around because we're talking about it's early 1984, right? Well, around about this time, you're getting movies like Class and some of the earlier like sex farce, sex comedy, where sex comedy and the Brat Pack kind of met for a little bit. There was the sex comedy movies, and then there was like Brat Pack movies that kind of did a little bit of that. With a little titillation and stuff. And then like About Last Night, which sort of has sort of very glossy kind of prolonged sex scenes for no good reason. It's like, if you ever want to watch like Ken and Barbie, it's Rob Lowe and Demi Moore in 1986 or whenever that movie came out. Anyway, when you see like Class, that kind of movie, Bedroom Eyes shouldn't be that kind of movie. But Bedroom Eyes, because of Kip Gilman, is that kind of movie. It's like if Woody Allen was chasing after women his own age. That's what this movie's kind of like,
Well, it's like if Woody Allen was making an erotic thriller, right? And if somebody had this idea of like, let's do Woody Allen making an erotic thriller and playing it straight, but not playing it straight, because the movie is playing it straight despite the fact that it's Kip Gilman. The scene at the end where, so I don't, I'll probably want to do the cold open. I'll give everybody a spoiler alert. But when you get to the end where he's like tied to a bed and she's the killer's like threatening him with a knife and everything, it's like, it's supposed to be like some leading man character that like, it's like, oh boy, this is like,
that we care about. Right. That we care about. We're meant to be like, no, don't kill Kip Gilman, as opposed to me watching it being like, what's so hilarious about this is this shot is on the back cover of the VHS. So before you even watch the movie, you go, oh, I wonder if the woman with the big red hair and the bra and panties wielding a knife is the killer. So when you see her in the first scene of the movie, you're like, oh, yeah, okay then. And then the movie plays out towards its inevitable conclusion. But no, what's funny is you want Kip Gilman. You're like, yes, torture Kip Gilman. Like, do something pretty disgusting to Kip Gilman. And she never does. So first of all, it's the most chaste, middle class, pearl clutching opinion of what kinky sex behind closed windows is.
Yes.
Everyone thinks it's just, oh, she took her clothes off. Oh, she took her clothes off. Wait, is that it? Yeah, that's it. She took her clothes off. He said she's attractive and she went, I know. And then she walked out of the room. Right. She took her clothes off. I don't know that I could show this to anybody. That sounds absolutely filthy. Meanwhile, cut to 70s French pornography and the things she could do with a spoon. But no, so that's the first thing, is how fucking it's chaste. It's like the people who complained about Video Nasties made a porno movie. It's ridiculous. And you can tell this, it breaks a cardinal error. Like it makes a cardinal sin in this movie. And that is when aforementioned toe-fucked blonde woman, right, who's been all over him all night and who he's toe fucked in a restaurant against his will, I might add. Like, she basically toe rapes him in front of a comical maitre d' who's like, "Oh, madam." And then Kip Gilman's like, well, my feet got warm after a long day's work. Oh, the feet warm, did they? Toe fucking. So after all that's gone on, they go back to the house, right? And this is where any good Skinamax softcore thriller would be like, oh, he is nailing the blonde chick. Because the whole point in those Skinamax or those kind of movies, those softcore erotic thriller movies that were made in after the 1990s, like Hollywood, like glossy ones, the more like shot in a back alley in Los Angeles kind of movie, with 4 women who just got off the bus. But the whole point is that your leading person has to sleep with every like woman, normally a blonde, a brunette, and a redhead at the very least. Either that or ones of vastly differing heights or differing boob sizes. There has to be variety in the sequence. And then at the end of the film or episode, he goes back and sleeps with the one he slept with again at the beginning. Yeah. And so what's funny is she gets to the steps, right? This is the first night in like 8 nights. They keep saying like 7 nights, then it's 10 nights, then it's whatever. I'm like, how many nights was he going and watching this very unappealing person do unappealing things to 2 other people who aren't particularly appealing either?
Right. Well, trying to avoid
she's standing
on
the
walking his dog. Right. We got the creepy guy walking his dog, and he's trying. So he's like doing the voyeur thing while the creepy guy's walking his dog, and he's avoiding him too. It's just and avoiding getting parking tickets. Yeah, it's so like you're saying. So
he gets multiple parking tickets, but then his blonde co-worker, who's literally all day just been like coquettishly look at my vagina, like for the whole movie, she goes, "You're gonna come in and boff me, right?" She doesn't say that, but like you can imagine, you're going to come in and buff me, right? You're going to give me a good ravishing. He goes, no, I've got too much work to do. She's like, what? Like she literally pleads with Kip Gilman. She goes, an hour. Come on, just give me an hour.
Right.
And you're like, wait, I'm sorry, Kip. You're turning her down to do what exactly?
Right.
Peek through a window at some unattractive broad and a guy with heavy eye makeup, like rubbing their faces together. It's one of the weirdest. Like, that's a cardinal error, because to me, you get in as many different boobs as possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, because this is what happens.
And therefore, yes.
As this genre grows and becomes, more what it's supposed to be, it like this one wanted to be like it wanted to be a mix between like the other thing I would throw in is Hitchcock's Rear Window, right? It wanted to be this mix of Rear Window.
Well, that's the De Palma thing. It's
and Blake Edwards, and it didn't know how to do any of those, and so it's like instead of saying,
oh no, it's not even. So I wanted to point out that the song at the beginning of the movie, right? There's a song called Motion City that opens the movie, and it's one of those wonderful kind of cheesy songs that lays out the entire themes of the movie. Like at one point, it's like, you won't believe your eyes as you're peering through a window, and you're seeing in Motion City, with your eyes in a bedroom eyes in Motion City. Like, it just, the whole song is just like laying out everything. And she's a murderer and she will kill you in the, like the whole song is just, but it's set to like a smooth kind of a salsa, maybe kind of a late era Kenny Rogers or a Jimmy Buffett type kind of thing. Yeah. But when they do like their dark song, you know what I mean? They're done with Margaritaville, and then they do like Motion City, it's sleazy and they're peeping at you, that kind of thing, right? But the thing is I'm listening to the song and I'm going, the person who made this song has listened to songs before. And if you said, can you recognize the song? He'd go, yep, that's definitely a song. But can't replicate a song. Like Motion City is the perfect music for Bedroom Eyes, because just like Bedroom Eyes isn't really a movie. It's a movie, but it's in no way a movie. The person who has made this movie has watched other movies and could pick movies out off a shelf and go, yep, I think that's a movie. But that's it. That's it. There's such a wonderful lack of skill that it almost becomes its own genre. Like you start watching it and going, these people really exist, and I'm being shown like clips of the past. This isn't a movie anymore. This is real life, and I'm drawn into Kip Gilman's fate.
Yeah. No, I think that's the best way to put this movie. I mean, it is all around. It is an absolutely fascinating thing. It's just it doesn't make any sense on any level except that it doesn't make sense. That's the only sense that you can make of it, is it doesn't make sense. Yeah, and when you get to the end,
so there's a great. Sorry, Matt.
Well,
1 second. I'm so sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
No, I was going to say. So there's a. Yeah, I think we have a delay. I'm sorry. So there's a YouTube guy, and I'm so sad because he hasn't done a YouTube video in 6 years, and I only just found it today. But he's called In the Defense of, and he's done a lot of. He does 5 minutes or less why movies that are either unknown or much maligned, or curious or whatever. He defends them in under 5 minutes, and he did a bunch of PM entertainment films. And he really likes Gary Daniels. I strongly recommend tracking down in Defense of. It's so good. And they're all 5 minute videos. Anyway, he did a bunch of PM ones. And what he points out in PM is when like there are action scenes, and they even know how to like plot a film in terms of, here's establish your hero, establish the world in which your hero lives, send your hero on a mission, explode things, right? They understand all the basic tenets of storytelling, and they do it very well. But in it, they throw things in the movie that you go, I know why they do it, but it's also like the bit when Gary Daniels' kid like puts a pizza in the oven, but still in its box.
and Riot, yes.
And you're like, yeah, and then he points out in the video, it's fantastic, that when the kids are like trying to escape from the burning kitchen or whatever, and they run out up into the living room, he has a framed picture of a hamburger on his living room wall. And he's like, it's things like this in PM entertainment films. And Bedroom Eyes fits a little bit into this.
Yeah.
Where they've gone, well, look, it's a living room, so people would have art on their living room walls. And they've just grabbed whatever's available, and they've put it up on the wall, and they've gone, that looks like a living room. This is our living room set, done. So they have a concept of what a living room is. If someone pointed out all the rooms and went, pick the living room, they could pick the living room. But they don't quite know why it's in the film. Do you know what I mean? They don't quite know. They just go, well, it's in the script. His kid burns a thing. They run into the living room. It turns into a jolly joke. You're like, what? We don't need Gary Daniels and his kids, engaging in laughter at like semi-dangerous things. Maybe we should be teaching people to take their pizzas out of the boxes. But anyway, maybe we shouldn't have this fucking scene in the movie. But when they're in PM films, they're so in the PM oeuvre, the genre, the style, they're so part of the world of PM that when they're not in the movie, you kind of go, oh, I miss those weird things, like a guy having a hamburger on the wall of his thing, or kids putting pizzas in their boxes in ovens or whatever, or weird back like in Last Man Standing. Jonathan Banks is having cereal, and his mother, who's a little doolally. Like again, Jonathan Banks' character doesn't need a mother. What's she doing in there? But she puts mushrooms on his cereal because she's going a little doolally. Right. And there's a whole scene about how his mother put mushrooms on his cereal. Matt has nothing to do with anything. It's not even like he's allergic to mushrooms. There's not even any kind of threat there. Except that his cereal is going to taste gross. But they put it in the film. PM did that. It's like, but they didn't make a whole movie that way. They just would have one scene in it, and you'd go, I don't know why I need to know that, but okay, right? In Zero Tolerance, a lot of FBI agents live with their parents. I don't know why, Matt. They just do. A lot of literally he goes, did so-and-so still live with his mother? Yes, he still, and she lives with his father. They all live with their parents, and it's very weird. But if they weren't in PM movies, you'd go, oh, that doesn't feel quite PM enough. Bedroom Eyes is like they took all those scenes out of a PM film, that in a PM film you just went, oh, okay, that's the weird scene. We're through it now. It'll be car chases and explosions. It's fine, right? Like the whole thing in The Sweeper where C. Thomas Howell doesn't like chefs. Like there's just a whole spiel about C. Thomas Howell. I was like, what has this got to do with anything? Is this movie about C. Thomas Howell killing chefs? So, but Bedroom Eyes is like they took all of those scenes and just put them into a film and occasionally filmed a woman's backside and went, that's a movie, right?
Right. Well, a great point about that is, when you interviewed Jacobson Hart or Joe Hart, and you were talking about the lack of sort of the exploitation piece in Steel Frontier that you get in like Italian, and he was like, we didn't really do that we didn't do sexual exploitation. We were more about the violence and stuff. And when you watch a movie like Skyscraper, where they had to shoehorn in 2 sex scenes because they had Anna Nicole Smith, you see that, right? Like you see like those scenes are completely out of place. There's no reason for them to be, but it's like PM saying, well, we've got Anna Nicole Smith, we need 2 sex scenes. It's like they plucked those 2 sex scenes. They plucked the whole concept of trying to do sex scenes in the Skyscraper, and it just made a movie. I mean, granted, this movie comes out well before that, but that's kind of what this is it's just like, it like you said, it's people who understand what a movie is, but they don't know exactly, what they're making here. And it's just like, just random stuff that happens where it's like, oh, well, he stepped in dog crap, and because he did that, they've got a good footprint of his shoe, and that's how they're going to bust him. That sounds like crap on like
no, but it's even weirder than that, because he steps in dog crap.
Right.
He several nights earlier, like 7 nights earlier.
And he throws his shoes out. That's right.
Like no, but he wipes his shoe.
Right.
Before he gets in his car, he wipes his shoe on a for sale sign that's fallen over in the garden of the Peeping Tom, right? And then later, in the middle of a crime scene, because there's this whole side plot about how they have a young detective on the force who they can't decide, is he brilliant or is he completely fucking stupid? That's a running through line in the movie. The movie that's meant to be about eroticism and death. Instead, we've got bumbling cop who comes in carrying an entire for sale sign, an entire one, covered in very obvious dog crap. Now, dog crap does not last. I know I have dogs. Dog crap does not last in runny form for longer than like a day. Like it just doesn't. It dries up or it gets rained on or whatever. But they're asking us to believe that 7 full days have gone by and that there's dog crap on the thing. But not only that, they make it a pivotal plot line. It's like part of the detective sequence that they're all playing straight. He walks in with a for sale sign covered in dog shit. And then they're like, we're going to get that down to the lab. It's like a weird Quincy episode or like a Magnum PI episode where someone dropped mushrooms.
Exactly.
It was like, what's the weirdest fucking Magnum PI episode we can write? So it's so weird, the sequence, and then the hands on the window and stuff. It's such a weird movie, but I loved it. I really enjoyed it.
It is. It's a fascinating. I mean, like you said, with that bumbling character, there's a scene where the 3 detectives all go to the psychiatrist's house looking for Kip Gilman, and she essentially, he's hiding in the back room, and she essentially gets rid of the cops. Well, the young guy that they can't decide if he's brilliant or bumbling, he's like, I need to use the bathroom. So these detectives, because these are shady cops kind of, they're just like, they assume that he's using, I got to go to the bathroom to start rifling through her stuff. So they get outside. They're like, hey, smart move about how to go to the bathroom. Did you find anything? He's like, well, no, I actually had to go to the bathroom. And they're like, oh, why you, kind of like, almost like they're about to backhand him or something. It's like played for laughs.
Yeah, they thought it was an elaborate ruse. They thought it was a ruse. They thought he was rusing him, and he wasn't. He just needed to pee. And you know what, bumbling cop character, that's okay, man. Exactly. It's okay if all you needed was to pee. But no, it's and what's even more amazing, and we'll obviously get onto it, but what's even more amazing is that it's not like by the time the sequel came around, they had learned any lessons.
No.
Because the sequel is equally, in fact, the sequel, which I love a little more than the first one, even though on IMDb, apparently I'm meant to hate the second one and kind of like the first one. The sequel is even more impenetrable and nonsensical and just, well, why is he at the aquarium? Oh, I don't know. Put a scene in later in the movie when his wife goes, well, you do like to go to the aquarium when you're down. I'm like, so he drives all the way to the aquarium just to have a very ham-fisted meet cute with Linda Blair, like a really confusing meet cute. So again, it's not even like 5 years later that our writer, Michael Allen Eddy, or either William Fruitt or Chuck Vincent, they learn nothing between part one and part two. Absolutely nothing. No. I mean, part one is sort of weirdly coy and cheeky, bedroom romps from. Right. They say it's 1984, but it might as well be 1974. Like, she might as well be Joan Collins. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, no. I mean, this is probably a good place for us to transition here because, I mean, I guess the question is, right, if you're making a movie with Kip Gilman and then you need to make the sequel about the same character, but you can't get Kip Gilman because he's off being a master of theater, right? He's off just displaying the craft,
he's off being a very important actor.
Theater. So you can't get Kip Gilman. Who do you cast in place of Kip Gilman?
Yeah.
Apparently it's Wings Hauser. And that's who they got for the sequel.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if maybe we should stop the recording here and restart it before we would dip in on Bedroom Eyes. So maybe I'll, just in case, so we don't get cut off.
Have we covered everything you wanted to cover on Bedroom Eyes 1?
I think so. Yeah, I think we've hit all the spots there. So yes, I'll stop this recording and we'll come back. Check out my newest release, Nadia and Aiden, available now. Told in a unique, dual first-person narration style, Nadia and Aiden explores what it means to be American from the standpoint of two kids who grew up in France with an American mother. It also looks at how we define family beyond DNA and blood relations, when life isn't always that simple. You can find Nadia and Aiden on Amazon in paperback, Kindle, and Kindle Unlimited. The link is in the podcast description.
That's never not going to be funny.
Oh, exactly. So So you have one more thing on Bedroom Eyes, the first Bedroom Eyes.
Well, sorry. I'm very sorry. The first Bedroom Eyes. I just wanted to mention, we did mention Dale Haddon, and I made a cool joke about her. But the fact that considering Kip Gilman's performance the first time he goes into the psychiatrist office, the fact that Alex falls for him so unbelievably quickly. Like the first time she meets him, she's like flat out no. Kip Gilman, it is wrong. You just asked me out for dinner, man. That is not cool. Not in the house of therapy. It would be improper. And then the very next session, she's like, I'm going to take you home and stick things up your ass. Right. She is suddenly all about the Kipster.
Yeah.
And she becomes a pretty horny therapist who apparently has no other clients. Zero. No other clients.
No. And she also only has one leather skirt that she wears every day that she's working for doing her therapy work. Yeah.
Well, because whenever she bends over to pick up her pencil, you can seductively see her stocking top, because they like to believe that this is a porn film from 1958 as opposed to 1984, where you could have shown some more boobs.
Right. Now they technically live happily ever after at the end of part one, and when they couldn't get Dale Haddon either for this one, unlike Kip Gilman, who they replaced with Wings Hauser, they just killed her off in the second movie. She dies in a car accident. And of course, this leads to all...
They replace her with Linda Blair, is who they replace her with.
Exactly. And we find out who Linda Blair is as the movie goes on. So I'll do a quick synopsis here. And I don't know, it's going to be a tough one to do a full-on synopsis because this movie is just all over the place. But essentially, Wings Hauser...
It is batshit. But there are some key points from the first one that follow on into this movie almost slavishly, almost in a way where you're like, dude, if you're casting Wings Hauser, you didn't need to tie this. First of all, by 1989, everyone's forgotten about Bedroom Eyes. So you don't need to tie this in to like Bedroom Eyes 1. Right. No one is people by this point are used to like the Indecent Behavior series or whatever, where each one is completely different to the last one. So Bedroom Eyes 2 doesn't have to be so intrinsically linked. But Michael Allen Eddy goes out of his way to link up like every character in this movie to a character in the first one. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, so Wings Hauser, he's picking up as Harry Ross, as Kip Gilman's character. He's into some insider trading, and he's married to a woman named Carolyn, who is like an art dealer who's having a thing with one of her artists. And at the same time, he meets Linda Blair and has a kind of a thing with her. And then out of nowhere, Jo Beth, the killer from the first movie, shows up. Despite the fact that she had tied Kip Gilman to a bed and was going to kill him with a knife, she's out of prison, and after 5 years, and she shows up. So there's all this stuff going on, and Wings, aka Harry Ross, he just gets himself caught up in all the stuff, in these murders and killings, because all of these people are tied to each other, and they're all trying to get back at him. And so once the people start dying, the cops kind of start wanting to bust him for it. And at some point, I guess eventually, he beats the murder rap despite beating up some police officers and stealing one of their guns. He beats the murder rap and lives happily ever after with a woman who is probably killing people.
The killer.
The killer, yeah.
No, she is flat out the killer. She is the killer.
Yeah. I mean,
the only person that...
Go ahead.
Oh, no, the only person that the guy kills... and this is huge spoilers, but don't watch Bedroom Eyes 2. I don't know. There's a campy brilliance to both films. So by all means, watch the Bedroom Eyes films if you want.
Right.
But I'm spoiling them for you, so I'm sorry.
Well, it's all right. I'm going to give a spoiler alert.
She is flat out the killer. The only person that he killed was Jo Beth.
Right, in self-defense.
Right, but she killed everybody else. She is the killer. And at the end of this movie, they kill the dude who killed Jo Beth, the art guy who Wings follows her out to some island. Does it ever explain which island? Like he goes all the way over on a fucking ferry and everything.
They named an island, and I can't remember what island it was, but it was an island.
But this is meant to be New York.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Did he go over to Staten Island on a ferry? Like, is that meant to be the Staten Island ferry? Because that was not the Staten Island ferry.
It sounded like something out in Long Island or something. Like Block Island?
Yeah,
maybe, but they didn't call it Block Island, but I think maybe it was something like that.
But anyway, he followed... Again, this is another thing where, like, look, lads, this is a low-budget movie. We don't need him going on a ferry. Like, he could have just gone, oh, where does he live? Allen Street? Oh, there it is. And go into the... Like... This idea that he has to go all the way out to the island.
Right.
But all right, he goes all the way out to the island. I mean, talk about blowing unnecessary budget on having Wings Hauser go on a fucking ferry. Anyway, he goes up to this artist's house, and this artist, like, we don't know either whether they've had an affair before, whether this is the first time they get together. But it appears to begin almost as assault and end as sex.
Right.
Like she kind of gives into it.
Yeah.
And, which is sort of, I don't know whether, I don't like that. That's a gray area I'm not a big fan of.
Right.
But Wings Hauser basically witnesses his wife, like, doing an artist up against an easel, right?
Yeah.
And then instead of going, well, I'm going to confront my wife and, like, divorce her, he just goes, oh, who was the bird I met at the aquarium? I'm going to track her down and just fuck her. She wanted to fuck me, right? She drew a picture of me looking at a dolphin or whatever it was. Shark Tank, looking at a shark. She took a picture of me looking at a shark. So she probably wants to knob me, right? So he just shows up at her door, and then it's a ooh la la with fucking Linda Blair. But yeah, and then they convolute to be like, it gets so potpourri. Right. Linda Blair, you need to follow this, right? I'm gonna right. First of all, I don't know if you know this, but Carolyn is meant to be Caroline from the first movie, who he toe fucks in a restaurant.
Yeah.
So that she's meant to be because she talks. They spell it differently, but she talks about in this movie having been like spurned by him previously.
Right. Yeah.
And that he went off with Alex.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Well, that happened in the first movie. So that makes her Carolyn.
Oh, yes. Yeah, exactly. So,
right there, Bedroom Eyes 2 has already got me going, I'm sorry, what? the woman he toe fucked. So wait a minute. We find out in this movie that Alex, the psychiatrist, right? He cheats on Alex, the psychiatrist,
Right.
with his colleague Caroline, right? For the first movie, the toe fight. He finally fucks her. He's like, well, Joe Beth's in prison now. I can cheat on my wife, no problem. Alex finds out about it. They get in a big fight. She storms out, right?
Yeah.
And while she storms out, she gets hit by a car. And Carolyn had never been able to forgive herself. So she like slit her wrist in the bathtub or whatever. I mean, this. Yeah. So you're like, wait, so the toe fucking woman finally got Harry Ross to have sex with her. Right. This sends his therapist, right? Like she's a therapist. So instead of maybe going, I don't know, let's sit down and talk about it, she goes flying out into the street where she gets hit by a car, right? Right. Which has like executive plates or something, because it turns out that is it turned out that like Joe Beth has married a no, it's not Joe Beth, is it? Who is it who's married
it turns out that it's Caroline that it hits her, I think, and she's feels guilty about it, I think.
Right, it turns out it's Caroline, but how is she in the senator, not the senator's car, but like who was the person who married a senator? Wasn't there someone who married a senator?
Oh, I thought Joe Beth did. Joe Beth was married to a senator.
In the first one, right?
First one. Yeah, and so maybe
I'm thinking of the first one.
Right.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the first one. I'm thinking of the guy who hits Kip Gilman with the car.
That's right. He hits
that
Kip
turns
Gilman.
out to be Joe Beth.
Right.
That turns out to be Joe Beth. Sorry, they do the same gag in both movies. All right. Sorry. Yes. In this movie, it's very hard to keep. The Bedroom Eyes world is a rich, complicated mess. Right? They also, the whole subplot in this movie about insider trading.
Yeah.
What was that? We find out that his little like.
Yeah. Well, and it's like about this MacGuffin of like a 5.5 floppy disk that they just like, I guess they were like, we need a MacGuffin for 5 minutes, right? Like what was
for 5 minutes?
Right.
I'm like, no. By the way, right? In any other movie,
right,
their insider trading would fail, right? And it would, and if you really want to tie like Joe Beth and Linda Blair and everyone into it failing, then yes, okay, say that it failed because maybe they intercepted the call when he said sell the stock that they had, artificially hiked or whatever they did. Or no, they got insider knowledge that it was going to be low, but it was going to go high because the company was, again, all this information is irrelevant to the whole plot of Bedroom Eyes 2. But I know that there is this company that is going to merge with another company, which is going to send the stock skyrocketing. Because the only reason I know this, and this is grotesque, is that his little Wings Hauser's mustachioed partner, who I thought for a minute was Kip Gilman in a fake, because he looks like Kip Gilman, and I'm like, wait, I thought Wings Hauser is meant to be Kip Gilman. Why have they also hired Kip Gilman to be his sidekick?
He's Kip Gilman-ish.
Could you imagine if they'd hired Kip Gilman? If they'd gone, look, we're replacing you with Wings Hauser, but if you still want to be in the movie, we're going to cast you. And he's like, oh, I get to try out one of my mustaches. Anyway, that guy has very unappealing sex while they discuss the insider trading. So we have to watch Kip Gilman's mini-me with a mustache hump this woman. Again, all this insider trading nonsense and this like, oh, he gets stuff from a woman who he's sleeping with. It's at least, though, Bedroom Eyes 2 knows to give us like sex right up front.
Right.
Like right up front. It goes right in there. Yeah. And it's so at least Bedroom Eyes 2 is like, don't worry about it, guys. We know that we should have shown you him bonking everybody in the first 5 minutes. So don't worry, we're going to make amends here. So at least Chuck Vincent knows what he's doing with that stuff. But did he have to make it kind of a quasi-comical exposition scene? So while she's orgasming, she's also explaining a merger between a company and another company and what that's going to do with the stocks. I'm like, Who wrote this madness?
Because it follows the tone of the previous movie, and then that tone is just out the window, right? Like we get that goofiness there. That's like the Blake Edwards kind of thing, and we think that's what the movie's going to be. This is just going to be another romp like that, and then it's gone after that scene.
Maybe Jerry Ciceriti came in and wrote the second half.
Yeah, like it could be,
because this one has two writers.
Well, I wonder if
this one has two writers.
I wonder if Ciceriti is the writer, and then Michael Allen Eddy gets a credit because they're his characters from the previous movie. He wrote the characters.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I think it's like if you do.
It doesn't say characters though.
Oh, it doesn't.
It doesn't say like writer characters after it.
Oh, okay, so maybe he did have a part in writing it. Yeah.
Oh no, it does. Yeah, no, writer as Gerald Ciceriti, and then it says based on characters created by. I love this. Based on characters. Yes, this is based on characters. If any movie in the history of movies was based, I love how it makes it sound like Michael Allen Eddy is the guy who first wrote. Like, you know how they always have to credit the guy who made the first Fast and Furious movie in every other Fast and Furious movie because it's become this like insane saga. Well, I love how it takes 5 years to make Bedroom Eyes 2. And Michael Allen Eddy is like, no, you better give me the based on by characters by Bedroom Eyes is going to run and run.
Yeah,
and then it's Ross. Apart from a made-for-TV movie that has nothing to do with the franchise.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, the Wings piece of this immediately. But the funny thing about Wings is that compared, again, going different from like Nicolas Cage, who's trying to sell that, he's trying to steal the Declaration of Independence. I mean, like when he goes into that scene, when he sees Joe Beth at his office and he goes, "Oh, hi, Joe Beth." And it's like, wait a second, that's the woman that tried to kill you. Oh, hi? Oh, hi, Joe, and then eventually he's like, get out of here.
Well, he has to say her name out loud because they've recast everybody.
Right, exactly.
So that's the other thing. There's a whole bit at the beginning of the movie where people are just saying each other's names so that everyone who's aware from Bedroom Eyes 1, they're like, oh, so he is playing Harry Ross. Fine, okay.
Right.
And wait, is Carolyn the same as Caroline from the first movie? Is she the toe fucker? Like, they really wanted this to be an epic of an epic kind of soap opera. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when you get to the end of the movie and the Caroline character is like just explaining everything. It's like, it's one of those things where you got to have the eye goggles on because the loose ends are flying from everywhere and you need the eye protection.
Oh, yeah.
You've got like the slack-jawed Wings Hauser listening to Caroline tell him this whole thing. But it's like, it's so Wings. It's like this, like there's a frenetic Wings energy that's still coming off of him while he's sitting there like, and she's going through like, well, I was friends with Linda Blair, and then I got Joe Beth out of prison. And I did this, and I did that, and then I knew you would go to the aquarium.
The plot of this is so convoluted and weird.
Yeah,
because Linda Blair is Alex's sister.
Right. Yeah, and she wants
revenge.
So
Alex's sister, wants revenge. So she goes and befriends the killer from the first movie.
Right.
What?
But then you find out that Caroline orchestrated them all. That Caroline got them all together to get Wings back.
Even though Caroline, big twist at the end, ran over Linda Blair's sister.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, the pieces of this, dude. It's a web within a web. I don't know.
Right.
A web within a labyrinth within a long corridor. I don't know.
Right. Yes. And, I mean, like there's the scene where Wings, before he goes to spy on his wife, when he has like the sense that he has a hunch that she's cheating on him because he sees the drawings that the guy did of her naked and he realizes, okay, he goes to the assistant, her assistant. He's like, he's asking for this guy's address, and she's like, he's like, the address, I want the address. And he's like leaning over her in this like very aggressive Wings way. And she's just like, oh yeah, here's the address. And it's like so not anything that Kip Gilman would have done in the previous movie, right? It's as far from Kip Gilman as you can get. Yeah.
Wings Hauser is the antithesis of Kip Gilman. I mean, so Wings Hauser is this like buzzing ball of like energy and non sequiturs like throughout the whole movie. And there's this great bit where you think he's forgotten his anniversary, and actually I was really pissed to find out that he had remembered his anniversary.
Right.
But he comes home and you think he's going to be in trouble because he called his wife earlier to say he was going to be late, but you don't feel like the wife has actually got the message.
Yeah.
And he walks in and he just goes, no, and like turns around and walks out again as if he's like, I'm in the doghouse, so I'm not sticking around for this. It was like a thing that would be in like a, according to Jim sitcom.
Right, exactly.
Like he would walk in and the woman with the three names, who I can never remember her name, Courtney Thorne-Smith, would be sat on the couch or sat at the dining room table like with a face on. You know what I mean?
Right.
And Jim would be like, oh, and like scooch out of the door. Like he'd come running in, see her face, and go, oh, and like back up comically. And that's kind of what Wings just walks straight in, goes, nope, and walks right out again. Right. And I thought, oh, please let them have like an argument. I want to see like Wings get full into like complainy Wings mode. And then they didn't. And then it turns out he remembered her anniversary and everything, got her a gift and blah, 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 blah. You're like, wait. Isn't he about to nail Linda Blair? Like, what?
Right,
what's going
exactly, on? Right. Yeah. No, it's like stuff like that happens in the movie, and it's just it's Wings. Just I mean, there's a lot of scenes of Wings driving places. Just Wings in his car, just angry at traffic, like beeping his horn randomly. I don't know that this movie would work on any level at all if it didn't have Wings Hauser in it.
No, so it works on two levels. One, if you've just seen Bedroom Eyes, like the thing is, if we saw Bedroom Eyes like a month ago, and then thought, oh well, I've seen Bedroom Eyes, I'll put Bedroom Eyes 2 in, you'd be lost.
Right.
You have to watch. I watched Bedroom Eyes 1 and 2 back to back today.
Same. Yeah.
Which, by the way, I recommend it. It's so beautiful to watch them back to back. You are taken to a totally other world. You kind of go, I recognize it as filmmaking, but it's not a film. And either one, it's so bizarre. They know to put characters in them, but they just don't know what a character is.
Right.
So, you would be so lost if you didn't remember who all the characters. They're so intent on trying to get every character from Bedroom Eyes 1 into Bedroom Eyes 2.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Like Joe Beth does not need to be in this movie at all. That Joe Beth is in this movie is utterly weird.
No. I mean, the creative thing is to create a new killer, right? To come up with a new killer, which I get is kind of a weird thing that this hairy guy just would always be running into women who are killers, but it would have made perfect sense if Linda Blair was the killer, without needing Joe Beth. We didn't need Joe Beth. It's almost like, it doesn't make a lot of sense that somebody, I don't know if this is kind of something that maybe like later, like it's like with the Blood Fist movies, right? Like, do we care that the later Blood Fists aren't the same character from Blood Fist 1? It's like, no, it's just Don the Dragon Wilson beating the crap out of people. You could have made this movie as Bedroom Eyes 2. It just had to be Wings Hauser be somebody else and with different characters. And it would have probably made more sense than having to shoehorn it into this construct of what Bedroom Eyes was, which again, like you said, wasn't really a movie to begin with.
Right. Also, do you know what there isn't in this movie? Any Bedroom Eyes. There is no peeping really in this movie. Yes, he goes all the way out to imaginaryisland.com in the Long Island Sound on a ferry. And yes, he peeks through the window but I hardly think some crowbarred in. In fact, Matt, now I think about it. I bet they made this movie, the producers watched it and went, where are the Bedroom Eyes? Right. And they crowbarred in that scene early in the movie.
Just to make Bedroom Eyes.
And went, shit, we better make it Bedroom Eyes.
Well, because the thing is,
do you think that's what they did?
It's like, it's not even a bedroom.
Right, it's not.
They're like
not even
some kind of like
bedroom.
Right. They're like on some like front porch kind of thing, like a closed-in porch or something where he's painting her. So they're not even in a bedroom.
It's
and
not
then,
even.
Linda Blair doesn't have a bedroom either. She has like this big studio apartment that has like a bathtub in the living area.
She has an apartment that looks like Dracula would be living in it in some Anne Rice knockoff made for Sci-Fi Channel movie is what she looks like. She looks like Jonathan Rhys-Meyers would be cavorting around in a velveteen shirt on it. That's what it looks like. She lives in some sort of gothic studio apartment. It's absolutely baffling. It's absolutely baffling, which just has an enormous bathtub right in the fucking living room.
Right. And she's like, Wings, take a bath with me. And he's like, no, I probably should get going, but I'm going to steal. What is it? Does he steal her panties? See, again, I had like the clouded Cold Picks version of the movie, so I couldn't tell if it was like a handkerchief or panties that he steals.
Well, it's so weird because he picks something pink up off the floor.
Yeah.
From where her clothes are and inhales them.
Yes.
And you go, okay, that's what you would like. You've seen that in movies before. That's panties.
Right.
And then later, and he tucks them into his bag. And then later on, it turns out to be like a neckerchief.
Right.
A neckerchief or a handkerchief or something.
Yeah.
And there's this whole, because the perfume is important. The perfume is a MacGuffin in this movie. Oh, what excellent perfume you have. It could be the same perfume that multiple women have had. But no, the only person in our entire life who wears this perfume is Linda Blair. Yeah. So she must be the killer, which she isn't.
Right.
But
no. But that's how his Caroline knows he's cheating. Well, no, Caroline doesn't know that he's cheating on her with the perfume thing. He knows he's cheating on her because she catches him because he wants to get caught and make her upset because she cheated on him, which Linda Blair's like,
wait, is that the bedroom eyes? That is bedroom eyes.
That's right. The wife has the bedroom eyes this time. Yeah, it's not him. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, they flipped it. It was a flip you. It was a flip. Yeah, flip you for real. Right. Yeah, it was a flip you.
Exactly.
Can you hear me at the back?
Yeah. Right.
No. Any usual suspect fans in the house?
Right.
Anyway, flip you for real. But no. Yeah, bedroom eyes. That was the bedroom eyes. The scene was when she comes into like the crack of the doorway and she sees in the mirror because the it's really bathroom mirror eyes. It's not bedroom eyes at all, but whatever. Right. She sees in the mirror Wings Hauser behind that door as if she would have to even see it. They are the noisiest. Like first of all, he leaves the door open. Secondly, his plan of hiding is to be just behind the door. Like you would.
Yeah. No.
You would hear it. And again, stocking tops, dude. Yes. In 89, it was all about Linda Blair's stocking tops.
Yeah.
Well, also, how obvious is her body double? Her body double is so obvious.
Yes, especially when they have the sex scene. I mean, that sex scene between Linda Blair and Wings Hauser, it's the exact opposite of the one that he has with Kathleen Kinmont in Art of Dying. I mean, he's like trying to fight it because he knows he's cheating on his wife, but then he's going for it. But there is kind of like a food element there as well. I think there's at least wine with that one.
No, the whole thing again. It's so fucking chaste, dude. Right. It's so fucking what the outraged later middle classes think is happening behind closed doors. Right. He slightly yanks her hair.
Yes.
And then later in the bathtub, she's like, you certainly were being like forward earlier or experimental in bed. I'm like, wait, is yanking hair suddenly experimental? Where I just thought that was part of the thing. Like exactly. It's so the whole movie, both movies, they're meant to be erotic thrillers. They're called Bedroom Eyes. Stocking tops are all over the front covers of the VHS. Right. You know what I mean? And yet what they seem obsessed with is like, oh, he pulled her hair. Oh, is that the height of, it would only be a year or two later that, Michael Douglas and Sharon Stone would be doing all sorts of cavorting and gymnastics in bed. But no, in Bedroom Eyes 2, it's like, oh, he pulled my hair. And that's suddenly the most extreme thing that's ever happened to a lady.
Right. Well, I wonder if the other thing, too, was like, kind of like how with the first Star Trek movie, how they were trying to zag with all the adventure movies at with Jaws and Indiana. I don't know if you knew Jaws, but Superman, Star Wars. They were trying to zag, and they wanted to make their like a Space Odyssey kind of version of that movie, and it didn't work. So they were like, okay, Wrath of Khan 2 is just going to be a straight up adventure movie, and we're just going to play it by numbers and be successful. I almost wonder if this movie is doing the same thing, where it was like the erotic thriller between 84 and 89 into 90. It had become more of a softcore porn thing that Cinemax, the movie channel, they had more time to fill, that they needed these softcore porn films. Video stores had become bigger in that 5 year period. They needed stuff that they didn't have to put behind the beaded curtain, that they could put, out in the general rental area as well. And if this movie's like, we're not going to do the softcore porn thing, we're going to do more of the thriller, we're going to do the more noirish thing, but we'll still have the sexy element. And unfortunately, it has like no identity to it whatsoever because of that.
No. No identity at all.
Yeah.
And in fact, none of the sex is either satisfyingly erotic or even satisfyingly graphic. It's just all very badly shot, badly edited. As far as I'm concerned, the Wings Hauser sex scene, at least from the neck on down, could have been spliced in from a completely different movie. I just wish they'd spliced something in from a actually erotic, fun movie rather than whatever bits of weird, sweaty ham meat they filmed flapping together.
Exactly. What we needed like Shin and Worry needed to be the body double for Linda Blair. That's really what needed to happen.
No, I mean, just cast Shannon Worry is what you need to do.
Yeah.
Sling your hook, Blair. If you're not willing to get your boobs out, she's like Savage Streets, and back in the day I would have done, but now.
Yeah.
Also, Linda Blair is such a weird exploitation actor. Like, I really have to unpack Linda Blair at some point. But anyway, I really do. At some point, I have to like unpack Linda Blair because I'm very confused by her.
Right.
But because I what's weird to me is it seems like all she could get jobs doing was, hey, the little girl from The Exorcist is all grown up. Do you want to see her nipples? Like that. And I'm just like, after watching The Exorcist, I don't think I want to like think of little girls ever again. And yet here Linda Blair is forcing me to reconcile with Reagan in The Exorcist and then be like, wait, do I want to see her cavort with Wings Hauser? Is this really who I've become? You know what I mean? There's a weird thing about Linda Blair that I can't quite put my finger on. It's just she shouldn't have done it, Matt. She tainted her image. She should have continued to be just a horror actor and just done a bunch of horror stuff. Because I could have coped with that.
No, because you're right. It's like you don't really buy her as the kind of bohemian art student, the artist living in the the fun studio apartment, like none of that really works. The other thing too that's interesting with her acting opposite Wings Hauser is that she's short. I mean, she's probably got to be like 5'2", 5'3", something like that. And Wings is a big guy. It's like when he comes from behind her, he's like engulfing her almost. And it's kind of like a trip Dracula. To see them. Yeah, it's a very fascinating pairing. Like you said, Linda Blair is someone who needs to be unpacked. I mean, she's done. I don't know if that doesn't sound good. Her career needs to be unpacked. Her career. You're right, because I mean the stuff like the gamut, running the gamut. I mean, she's doing like David Hasselhoff movies. What was it? WB and the Bear or Blowout or whatever. She's in that one.
She does Sorcerer with him as well, right? Sorcerer or Sorcery?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And then I mean, what was the? I was trying to think of the. There was a. What was it? A ninja, like a kid's ninja movie that she did. And I can't think of what it was. There was Double Blast or something like that. I'll have to look and see what it was called. It was ridiculous. I haven't reviewed it yet on my site. I probably should. The other thing she did, I forgot about this. Do you remember there was a TV show about this English pop group, S Club 7? And she played their landlord when they were doing the show in LA. She was their landlord. Yeah, so it's like this teen pop group. It was supposed to be like the Monkees. And they were like this English teen pop group is like living in LA, and they would like have these wacky adventures, and they would do a song at the end. And she was essentially being like their Mr. Furley. That's what she was. That's probably the best way to think of it.
Oh my goodness. I had no idea. I mean, I knew of S Club 7. I lived through those tumultuous years.
Right, exactly.
I was in England during the S Club 7 era, where we all wished it would end.
Right.
and it hasn't ended, and we're still technically living within the S Club 7 era.
Yeah.
I mean, the S Club 7 era just lasted a lot longer than I thought it was going to last. That's basically where we're at.
Right.
And now, like, Robbie Williams from Take That is doing Michael Gondry-esque biography films, and you're like, what's next? The guy from S Club 7 fucking stars in a Jarmusch movie opposite fucking Adam Driver and Tilda Swinton.
Oh, I would love if he just pulled one of the S Club 7 people and made, like, I agree. He needs to,
like, isn't it obscene that Marky Mark has been in a Martin Scorsese film? Marky Mark. I mean, that's really, that was the downfall of fucking society right there.
Yeah. But it was because of the accent. He liked the accent. It was authentic for him to have the Marky Mark accent in the movie. That's really what did it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Marky Mark is another one that's just, it's absolutely ridiculous. So some of the people that became stars in the 2000s, it's something that we're going to have to reckon with at some point in the future as a society.
Well, they're all refusing to age.
Right.
Leonardo DiCaprio keeps getting like cast as like plucky 38-year-olds or whatever.
Yes.
And you're like, I really don't understand it.
No.
No.
It's funny.
It's just so weird how they all are. They're all in their like 50s, early 60s, all still trying to play like 30s, 40s. It's weird.
Right. I mean, like Jason Statham. I mean, I think him and I think Vin Diesel, I think their characters in the Fast and Furious movies were born in like the mid to late 70s, when both of those guys were born in the late 60s. And they just, because I think, was it the Hobbs and Shaw movie, that the actor that plays his sister, she was born in like the early 90s. So they're like 14 years apart, but they're like making it look like they both grew up in the 80s together. It's just,
I mean, I understand it, but at the same time, it's like, all right, guys, it's time to grow. Like even Michael Caine grew up.
Right.
But then Michael Caine made Bullseye with Roger Moore, which again, you have to watch, Matt. Someone else needs to watch Bullseye and go. I mean, if you want a film where the phrase "How did this get made" really applies, like truly applies, watch Bullseye, Michael Winner joint starring Michael Caine and Roger Moore. It is, when people say to me like, "Oh my god, like so and so is the worst movie ever," like what is it that people like really hate or whatever that they say is a really bad movie?
Oh, I think
until you've sat through. Like, for example, because it's coming out soon. When people say like, "Oh, the first Fantastic Four movie is a bad movie. Oh, it's such a terrible movie. Catwoman with Halle Berry, what a terrible movie." I'm like, both of those movies, both of them, deserve to be in the Smithsonian. Not that exists anymore. So the Louvre, because it's been defunded and everything's been destroyed. But if the Louvre, like those two movies, Catwoman with Halle Berry, Elektra with Jennifer Garner, and Fantastic Four, deserve more of a place in the fucking Louvre than Bullseye. Like, until you've lived through Bullseye, you don't get to call anything. Samurai Cop technically works better as a movie than Bullseye does.
To see it now.
Samurai Cop literally hits the bullseye more times than Bullseye. You'll see what I mean, Matt. You won't believe it when you watch it.
It's listed. It's $1 rental on Amazon.
That's about 99 cents overpriced, but sure.
Now, is it Roger Moore's daughter? Is that Deborah Moore? Is that? Yeah. This is a trip. Like you said, it's a Michael Winner movie. So, Oh, this is, the first IMDb review.
Yeah. Have you ever wanted to see two Knights of the Realm? One of whom is an Oscar winner and one of whom was like James Bond and the Saint. If you ever want to see them riding around Scotland in kilts on a moped during like a wacky finale action sequence, that's what you're in for, dude.
Right.
Bullseye.
Yeah. All right. Well, I know it's next on my
With
watch list. Yeah. Oh my God.
where
that
Michael
just
Winner
looks
literally
beautiful.
went, Michael Winner goes, you know what would be funny, lads? If you both were wearing kilts. If Michael, stop that. Put on kilts. Roger, put on kilts. And we'll just film them in kilts. Is there going to be any comedy? No. It's just funny that Michael Caine and Roger Moore are in kilts.
Right.
That's enough of a joke. Just kilts are funny.
Yeah.
Shoot it. Roll film next.
Right.
That's Bullseye, dude. That is Bullseye in a nutshell.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna watch that. Yeah. That one's
Oh,
on the
it's
list.
fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
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 Unintentionally hilarious.
So even this movie compared to a Bedroom Eyes 2 compared to a Bullseye, or Bedroomizer, Bedroom Eyes 2 compared to a Bullseye. Yeah.
Bedroom Eyes 2 is, Bedroom Eyes 2 is to Bullseye what like a Hallmark Christmas movie is to a snuff film. You know what I mean? You might want to watch a Hallmark Christmas movie. You don't really want to watch a snuff movie, but there's a part of you, a deep, dark part of you that sometimes you need to speak to that wants to see a snuff movie.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. We'll sit and watch a Christmas movie, a Hallmark Christmas movie. Sure, whatever. It's funny. Right. You know what I mean? The snowman turns out to be a hunky prince, whatever it is. Yeah. Well, that's funny. Mm-hmm. But like, you watch a snuff movie through like one hand and you go, I'm just going to, you know what I mean? Like, I want to watch it. I can't look away.
Right.
That's what Bullseye is. Bullseye is the snuff movie, if people aren't following this analogy.
Yes. You're just kind of watching it with like your eye, your hand covering most of your face, but just like a little bit.
It's like the best way to watch Bullseye would be with Bedroom Eyes, Matt. If you were watching it through a slatted blind in the boudoir of some ginger-haired aunt prostitute.
Excellent. Well, I guess with Bedroom Eyes 2, I was trying to think, is there anything that we missed on that one? Because there's just it feels like there's a lot to unpack, but then you start to unpack it.
Oh, as it's like a Michael Gondry. It's like the sequence in not a beautiful mind. What is it? Sunshine of a Spotless Mind. What was that movie?
Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind. Yeah.
That's it, right? Yeah. Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind, where he's like chasing Kate Winslet, but every time he gets close, the memory's being erased.
Oh yes, yeah.
Do you remember? There's a whole sequence in the middle of the movie, and you're like, "Wait, is this ever going to stop?" And then that was just the movie, and you're like, right. "That was the movie," and then they're like, "Yeah, that was the movie," and you're like, "But oh," and then you went out to the cinema and you walked down the street and you felt like jumping in front of a bus. Well, that was what this. So in this movie, as you chased. If plot strands are Kate Winslet in Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind, plot strands in Bedroom Eyes 2 are Kate Winslet. We are Jim Carrey, and we're trying to grasp at the end of plot lines, and they keep evaporating in our hands. Because really, I don't know why Linda Blair is her sister. I don't know why Carolyn, his own wife, gives him a painting of his ex-wife that she was so bereft that was dead. She tried to commit suicide in the bathtub by opening up her fucking wrists, right? As Hauser says at one point in the movie, right? And you're like, so wait, and for your big anniversary, you unveil a painting that is so obviously of Linda Blair and not of Alex. It's so obviously a painting of Linda Blair, trying to let everyone know, oh, Alex in the first movie looked like Linda Blair. For people who haven't seen Bedroom Eyes 1, Alex in the first movie looks nothing like Linda Blair, apart from they both have black 80s hair. That's it. That's the only similarity. Yeah. But she unveils a photograph, and so I don't know why any of that happens. No. I don't know why Jojo Siwa, what's her name?
Jo Beth.
Jo Beth. I don't know why Jo Beth is in the movie. Right. I don't know why it seems to hint at, during the last act where they've drugged Wings Hauser and tied him to a chair, that it seems to hint at Jo Beth and Linda Blair having a lesbian moment.
Right.
What has that got to do with anything?
Right.
Why does Jo Beth have her breasts out when she's planning to kill everybody?
Right.
What's going on, Matt?
Yeah.
So as you start to, then the boyfriend shows up, the artist boyfriend shows up. He's apparently killed Jo Beth and then dragged her out onto the beach. Why he did that, we don't understand. So we don't know why that's happened. He admits it. His wife is now wearing some sort of like evil boudoir gear, having the rest of the movie just wore normal clothes. Now suddenly she's trying to look like Bridget Nielsen in Mission to Justice, right?
Right.
And then, or Mission for Justice, or whatever that Jeff Wincott movie's called. It's very good, by the way.
Right. Yeah. No, that's it. Mission for Justice. Yeah.
And Mr. Justice. Then they kill him.
Right.
Wings Hauser's going to throw him down an elevator shaft. She goes, "Fuck that! I'm shooting him," just so there's more physical evidence.
Right.
Because we can at least say that he fell to his death by accident, because there's just an open elevator shaft in this fucking art gallery that's never been finished. Right? You could at least go, well, he slipped and fell by accident, but now you've shot him like an idiot. There's physical evidence of foul play rather than accidental death. Yeah. And then you and Wings Hauser, you're clearly a murderer. Wings Hauser is like completely befuddled because he's hopped up on drugs and he's been molested by Linda Blair and Jojo Siwa. And they just walk away at the end of the movie and the credits roll, almost like the director went, "Is 87 minutes enough?" And they went, 87 minutes of this is very much enough. And he went, "I'm rolling credits here." And everyone went, "What about the fucking Ponzi scheme you were running or insider trading? What about the little mustachioed guy? Did he ever hook up with the woman again? What about the fact that your wife is a murderer? What, like,
or the cops,
all of it. Why did she? Yeah. The cops, right? Where are the cops?
Chasing him. He's running away as they're shooting at him. He beats up one of the cops and takes his gun.
Right.
And then uses that gun to confront. I think that gun is the one that they used to kill the boyfriend with. The cops,
right?
I mean, I don't know that the cops appreciate that. I can't imagine.
What about the foot chase with Wings Hauser across the roof, where they try and do a stunt where a guy jumps from one roof to another, but they clearly filmed it where the roofs are so close together, it doesn't even, like, he's basically stepping from one roof to another roof, and they show it in slow motion like it's something out of fucking Mission Impossible. I mean, it's not even Belushi in K9.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's like people getting off the subway, right? There's the gap between the platform and, that's his way of binding the gap. He just jumped over it like that,
Oh yeah. No, that whole action sequence could be called Mind the Gap. Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's one of these movies that when you watch it, when you do, we do these kind of things where we talk about these kinds of movies, it is that kind of movie. And if you're someone who likes that kind of movie, this is a perfect watch. I will say that people should get it on VHS. I think the Cult Pix version is not good. You do get the Joe Bob Briggs at the beginning and end, which is kind of funny, but otherwise it's not a good transfer. So the VHS is a good one, but the two back to back. If you know people that like these kind, like offbeat movies that make no sense, but they're kind of fun to watch. The Bedroom Eyes double feature you can't do much better on a Saturday night than the Bedroom Eyes double feature.
Matt, I am with you, and I'm glad we've come to the end of the show both agreeing on Bedroom Eyes, because yes, for all their faults, and their faults are numerous, they are also so confusing that they almost come back around to making sense again in a weird way. Where like you get stupid, and then it's kind of genius. This is right on that level.
Right. Well, and the stars, the leads are kind of what do it, because you have Kip Gilman, who makes zero sense in his role as the lead.
Zero sense.
Yeah, and so when you get to the end of the movie, you're just like, okay, I'm going with it now. I'm okay with Kip. Like this. It's almost like the movie.
Yes, there's a weird thing.
Right. It's like the movie bends its weirdness to fit Kip Gilman as opposed to Kip Gilman fitting in the movie. and Wings is always that. That's always Wings in a Wings movie.
Yes.
Right? Wings is just going to stand there and be Wings, and the movie's got to come to him. Right. Every movie's got to come to Wings, and eventually, I guess this movie does. I guess it does in a way.
No, it was so you're so right. Like
Yeah.
with Kip Gilman,
Right.
there was a point, midway point, and I can't even say exactly when it was,
Right.
but there came a point where I was like, do I kind of like Kip Gilman? Like, I don't mind Kip Gilman so much anymore. And it's almost like any other movie with a character as annoying and teeth grating as Kip Gilman is in the first act of this film. Any other movie would just lose it. Like you
Yeah.
would just at a certain point you'd be like, I cannot watch. It's like when I watched Temple of Doom, and I'm reminded again just how bad Spielberg's wife, Willie, what's her name?
Yeah.
Just how bad she is in Temple of Doom. Like just how she takes Temple of Doom and takes a big dirty shit all over it. And it's very, very hard to enjoy Temple of Doom now because the moment Kate Capshaw starts talking, it's at a level where you're just your character is unappealing. The way you're playing it is unappealing. The tone of your voice is unappealing. The fact that they're going to have you run around and scream and be unpleasant throughout the whole movie. It's like that and Shia LaBeouf in Temple of a Crystal Skull or whatever.
Oh, yes.
Like it just sometimes you can put a Kip Gilman in there, and I guess Kip Gilman, because he's an important man of theater, is able to take his Kip Gilman-ness and mold it into a more appealing Gilman by the end credits.
Yeah, it somehow worked. It somehow, somehow these movies work in spite of themselves, and I guess that's the and I think sometimes that's the sweet spot with these direct-to-video movies, these like kind of low-budget ones, is that when they work in spite of themselves, it's almost like this kind of special alchemy that makes them enjoyable.
What about at the end when she's being taken away?
Right.
This is the first one when Joe Beth is being taken away, and she's like, "I'm married to a senator," blah 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 blah, whatever.
Right.
And she like goes for Kip Gilman one more time, like beats him in the arm or whatever as she goes past because she's so enraged by Kip Gilman. And Kip Gilman all but looks at the camera, like he basically looks right down the lens and goes, "That woman pisses me off," and it's just. You literally expect like someone on a tuba to walk past and go, what? Like it's so weird. Yes. It's so weird.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's such a fascinating thing. Yeah. I think for people, if you're looking for something wacky and out there, these two movies back to back are definitely a fascinating watch, and worth checking out for sure.
Also, what about the fact that technically, as long as I'm following the plot correctly, their insider trading works out? Yes. Like it's not. Why is the MacGuffin even important?
Right.
They've already sold those shares. I don't like.
Yeah.
Why does that become important? He literally goes, "Oh, it's $32 a share, up from $11. Yeah. That means that we've made like $5 million each. Sell, baby." And he picks up the phone to sell them. Next thing we know, we're being taken on this journey of the missing floppy disk. I'm like, and he just goes down the police station and goes, "Give me my floppy disk back." Yeah. And they act all suspicious with him, even though they just hand him the floppy disk. I'm so confused.
Yeah. And I don't know how that works, because it's like, so you didn't trade the stocks because they're on a disc? And what do you got to go down to like the stock exchange, the New York Stock Exchange, and hand them a disc and be like, "Here's us buying shares"? It's like, oh, okay, well that changes everything. It's like, I don't think that's.
Well, if you've got a floppy disk, I didn't realize you guys were big time.
Right, because everything's done on the phone. That's what they're doing the whole time on the phone. Give me this many shares of this. Give me this of that. You know, it's like all over the phone. The floppy disk doesn't make any sense, but they were like, "Well, we need the floppy disk." It's.
It's like when people go, "Movies have MacGuffins, right? We should really put one in." Right. And everyone just scratches their head and goes, "What's the MacGuffin?" Right, like Linda Blair's ridiculous overcoat. Like, what's the MacGuffin? They're like, I don't know. Make it the floppy disk. What floppy disk? Well, they're trading stocks. Don't they go on floppy disk? No, stocks do not go on floppy disk. Well, put them on floppy disk and then steal it. Why? Because that's very hip. Floppy disks are very now. We think that, you know, floppy disk, 3M is going to make a killing off the floppy disk. And 3M ponied up like $10 to make this film. No, it's both movies. What about the scene in the? We completely forgot this. But the first movie, the crime scene with the woman at the beginning, who turns out not to be the curly-haired woman. But the way we find out that she's not the curly-haired woman is because another inept cop, like, goes to grab there's a corpse lying on the bed. And he grabs her hair and then is shocked when the wig comes off. Yeah. But why was he going to grab her hair in the first place? Does he go from crime scene to crime scene grabbing corpses' hair?
Right. Yeah.
Well, like, what?
Right. No,
but he pulls it off and then he's like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. And it's almost like in The Burbs when Bruce Dern is tearing the wallpaper and then realizes he's like made a mistake and he goes, oh, and then goes like to like stick it back on.
Right.
It's almost like that in this. He pulls the wig off and immediately goes, oh, shouldn't have done that. It's a crime scene.
No, the Keystone Cops element is just ridiculous with these. Which again, it's like not quite at the level of like, you know, a comedic, you know, 80s movie. But it's like on the line of it. Right? Like it's still on the line of it. It's it's part of the whole identity crisis of this thing that, you know, because
I think that they saw films like Class.
Yeah.
I think they saw films like where again, like Jacqueline Bisset is almost like, I'm naked under this incredibly thick and huge fur coat.
Right.
And you're like, is that meant to be alluring? Right. Take the coat off, Bisset. Right. Anyway. We haven't got time for this.
Right.
But no, they've seen movies like that. They've seen movies like Dressed to Kill, the De Palma movie. Yeah. And they've seen horror movies, they've seen sex romp movies, and they've seen like film noir movies. Yeah. And they've gone, let's just make sure there's like 20% of each of those things in a film. Right. And then that's the film you get is Bedroom Eyes. And what I like is Bedroom Eyes 2. Bedroom Eyes 2, Matt, is a successful sequel because you would think that a movie that completely replaces its creative staff, right? Different director, different writer, different cast, right? Yeah. You would think that a movie like that would be completely different to the first one. You would think there's no way they could match the parody ineptitude of the first movie. There's no way they can out Kip Gilman. They managed to out Kip Gilman. Right. And yes, Wings Hauser and Linda Blair turn out to sort of be their aces in their sleeve. Yeah. But also the filmmaking is still so inept that it somehow is a successful sequel to the first one. Because if the filmmaking of the sequel had been apt rather than inept, if the filmmaking of the second one had been even mildly competent, it wouldn't have been a successful sequel because it would have ruined the Bedroom Eyes formula. And you know, we were joking earlier about the writer wanting a characters created by credit. Yeah. But to be honest, Bedroom Eyes, first of all, I would watch a Bedroom Eyes 3 with all new people playing the same characters. I would totally watch that movie. Like Casper Van Dien is, you know, Harry Ross in Bedroom Eyes 3. And it's just Casper Van Dien in like a curly fright wig, like to try and match the Hauser hair. Right. But they've just found it like a ginger curly wig from like a broken down Halloween store. They've gone, put that on, Casper. You're playing Harry Ross. Right.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. In
Casper Van Dien, Lizette Anthony in Bedroom Eyes 3.
That would be amazing if they cast us. I mean, that's the thing, right? This movie, like you said, like, because the tone is even different, right? Like the sequel's more serious than the first one,
right?
But even with the tone being different, it's like it's still the actual tone of the being all over the place is the same.
Well, because Wings is wandering around aquariums. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
and doing his like Wings thing. Like, for example, there's a great Wings moment where his friend is trying to convince him to do the insider trading.
right, yeah.
And Wings just like taps on top of an old school computer monitor, and you hear the taps, and he just goes, then he slams his hand down on the monitor and just goes, I'm in, and walks out of the scene. It's like textbook Wings.
Right,
It's
yeah.
like Wings perfection.
Right.
And you need those little bits of business to kind of make this movie interesting, because it's almost like Wings is a great audience surrogate, because Wings does just sort of walk through the world not quite understanding it. Like, how many characters has Wings Hauser played that make decisions that just make absolutely no sense? No sense whatsoever. That he's like, well, look, if my wife sleeps with an artist and I go all the way out there on a fucking
A
ferry, and I get there and I see her making out with the artist, that allows me to call up the random bird from the aquarium that was painting me near the shark tank, not at all conveniently, and go round to her house and have hair pulling sex with her and bathtub chats. Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
No.
Were you down the aquarium again, dear? Yes, I was. Well, that's where you go when you're low, because you're what, an 8-year-old boy? Like, what's going on? But no, Wings Hauser walks through the world confused by the world. In all his best movies, Wings Hauser is like, I have no idea what's going on. And therefore he becomes this wonderful audience surrogate. And none more than in this movie, I think.
Well, he becomes this wonderful audience surrogate, but then I don't know if you hear sirens going on behind me here, but
all good.
He's this wonderful audience surrogate, but then he starts behaving in this Wings Hausery way that is so not the audience surrogate, right? Like we would never, there's no way as an audience surrogate, right, that we would do any of the things that Wings does. That's what makes it so great, is he's the audience surrogate until he starts behaving in a Wings way. That's a way that nobody would behave.
Yeah, until he's like punching cops and stealing their guns and running across rooftops, and yeah.
They're
like, what's all this happen? Why is it? And they seem to think it's okay that if he doesn't shoot the cop and just goes, please believe me, I'm innocent, that the cop's going to go, you know what, I think he's kind of innocent. It's sort of, and it's weird, right? Because I was just watching, we were talking earlier about me watching National Treasure, and the whole through line of National Treasure 1 and 2 is Harvey Keitel is basically an FBI agent that's just like, well, I'm so at the top of the FBI or whatever agency he works for, probably a special magical one that Disney just invents. But because he wears waistcoats and plays Sudoku or whatever, or fucking solitaire, and owns a couple of encyclopedias, he's like, you know what? I think this guy stealing the Declaration of Independence is perfectly fine. Let's just let him do it. And it sort of works on the same principle. Well, if they believe Nick Cage enough, it's fine. Well, if we believe Wings Hauser enough, it's fine.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And and the reality is it's not fine until, I guess, like you said, like it becomes fine in spite of itself.
Do you know what would be great is if Bedroom Eyes had continued and we'd got like Bedroom Eyes 6, and it was like James Spader. James Spader is Harry Ross, again surrounded by 3 women, all of whom he sleeps with, kills. This is basically like Marry, Fuck, Kill the movie. That's basically what this is, right?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, if we had gotten
the first one is Marry, Toe Fuck, and Kill.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, if we had gotten to that stage in to where, like you said, to where James Spader is doing one of these movies in like 2005. I mean, yeah. The only other actor I could think of would be ridiculous, and maybe he would be like part 5 or part 7, would be Billy Zane. With like his big eyebrows.
Zane would definitely do a Bedroom Eyes. No, you're right. Yeah, Bedroom Eyes would have been the movie he made with Kelly Brock after they made 3.
Yes. Yeah.
And actually 3 is sort of like Bedroom Eyes, but on a beach.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. No, the 4th one with Billy Zane and Kelly Brock, where Billy Zane just does not care, right? He's just like, you cast me in this because I was in Titanic. I'm bald. I've got the eyebrows. I'm just gonna walk around. I'm just gonna sleepwalk through these scenes, say some lines in a way that's just like me carrying the baby or the young girl in Titanic, being like, "I'm all she's got left. Let me go on the lifeboat." He just does every line that way, and just like, yeah,
No,
Kelly
it's Billy Zane and Anne Hesh.
and
That's what it is. Billy
yes,
Zane and Anne
oh yeah,
Hesh
yeah,
in
post
Bedroom Eyes 4. Yeah.
right, the post dating Elaine blacklisting, right, where she could only do like Lifetime
Yes.
stuff because they were just like, we can't have a lesbian woman doing leading roles in Hollywood because for whatever reason we can't, right? That was
Right.
the rule with Anne Heche, and so Billy Zane couldn't do anything because he was Billy Zane. It was just like, okay, well, you're in Titanic, you played the bad guy, even though you were the most fun character in Titanic. Okay, we can't give you any work either. So yeah, they're like the perfect team up for Bedroom Eyes 4. And I don't even
And
know.
Bedroom Eyes 5. Bedroom Eyes 5 has Mayor Winningham in it because Mayor Winningham has decided finally in her like 50s to do an erotic thriller. Like she was the one of the Brat Pack that everyone was like, yeah, Mayor Winningham is fine. You don't have to do one. It's like when we were watching Deceptions 2 and what's her name? Muriel Hemingway decided, I'm going to get in on the erotic thriller. And then people are like, it's fine, Hemingway, you don't need to. She's like, no, I'm getting in on the erotic thriller train. You know what I mean? And you're
Right.
like, I guess so. All right. Well, Mayor Winningham, the same. Bedroom Eyes 5, Mayor Winningham, and
Yes. And then 6
and
is
John
Spader.
Lovitz. I
John
don't know.
Lovitz.
I don't know.
John Lovitz would be the best bumbling cop in a Bedroom Eyes. But see, that's me getting it wrong by saying John Lovitz as the bumbling cop. Right? You want
Yes.
John Lovitz to be the lead because it has to make no sense for it to work in a Bedroom
It
Eyes.
has to make no sense. Oh, what if this? They go. It's Bedroom Eyes 5. It's John Lovitz and and Mayor Winningham. We're
Right.
going back to the original, and it's like the Bedroom Eyes 5 is the one that ignores Bedroom Eyes 2 through 4,
Right, exactly.
and like retcons the franchise.
Right.
And people are like, wait, we're retconning the retconning the Bedroom Eyes franchise. Yeah.
Right.
We're taking it back to the original. We're going to have a Kip Gilman type. We think that John Lovitz is perfect. And we've got Mayor Winningham to play Alex.
Now, would we still give Michael Allen 80 a character's credit?
Credit, of course, because we're going back to the original.
Right.
We're retconning it, Matt. So we're going back to the original characters. So basically, what they're really doing is like remaking Bedroom Eyes 2.
Right.
Only with John Lovitz. They're like, we didn't like how serious it got with Bedroom Eyes 2. We've always wanted to go back to the mad cappery of Bedroom Eyes 1. So we've cast John Lovitz. And then everyone hates it. It's like a part 5 and everyone hates it. Right. So part 6 then goes back to the original timeline. Yeah. And then for years later, it becomes mentioned like Halloween 3 and Friday the 13th part 5 as like, and then there'll be a hipster revolution where people will be like, actually, I secretly think Bedroom Eyes 5 is the best Bedroom Eyes. Right. You know, like the people who try and say that Dawn of the Dead, the remake, is better than the original, and you just want to bounce their head off a fucking pavement because Zack Snyder couldn't direct a good story if one hit him like a train and knocked him into a wall. Anyway, no, but that's what would happen is people would be like, Bedroom Eyes 5 is secretly the best one. And then another 10 years would pass and the new male girl would be harassing an octogenarian Joe Bob to play Bedroom Eyes 5 on his Shudder show. He's like, I fucking hate Bedroom Eyes 5. There's no Harry Ross in Bedroom Eyes 5. That's it. Bedroom Eyes 5 doesn't have a Harry Ross. Like, it turns out that John Lovitz is like playing Harry Ross's cousin or something. You know what I mean? Like there's got to be some inconsistency in it that drives the hardcore fans nuts. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like when they got rid of Michael Myers or it's not really Jason in part 5, the fans were mad. They felt duped. So you watch the whole movie thinking John Lovitz is playing Harry Ross, and actually at the end of the movie they reveal that he's Harry Ross's cousin dressed as Harry Ross, and he has a room full of photos of Kip Gilman.
Yes. ghosts. Right, with Kip Gilman
Because he always
headshots.
wanted his cousin's life. He always wanted his cousin's life. And so he's parading himself around as Kip Gilman.
With the Kip
Oh,
Gilman
dude, we
headshots.
need to write these movies.
Oh, yeah. No, I love
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's gold to be mined in the Bedroom Eye series that hasn't been touched yet. Yeah. It's amazing. Well,
look, they waited 5 years between 1 and 2. Why don't we wait?
right.
It's
What's
fine
30
if we wait
Yeah.
35 years or 36 years between part 2 and part 3.
Exactly. Yeah, well, I guess as we're wrapping up here, John, anything else about these Bedroom Eyes movies that we haven't covered?
I think we have done Bedroom Eyes to death, man. I think people probably wish we'd stopped saying the words Bedroom Eyes 2 hours ago.
Exactly. Perfect. Well, as we're wrapping up, I know we talked about the PM pod, but anything else that you wanted to plug?
Yes, the VHS show. So if you really have listened to this long rambling tirade on Bedroom Eyes, and I really sincerely hope you do, because I feel like it was gold. I think it was mined gold. But every other Thursday, I am doing a show live on Instagram with and live on Facebook with my buddy Scotty Toombs, where we talk about VHS and what we've been watching on VHS. It's called the VHS Show. You can find it on the After Movie Diner YouTube, the After Movie Diner Facebook page, or the After Movie Diner Instagram, as well as the Be Kind Movie Vault Instagram. So it's all over the place. Follow Be Kind Movie Vault, I guess is what I'm saying. I have an eBay store. I do the VHS Show, and follow the PM Entertainment Podcast. Those are the two things: the VHS Show, Be Kind Movie Vault, and the PM Entertainment Podcast. Come follow me, won't you? Thanks so much for listening, everybody. Bedroom Eyes Double Bills. Fucking awesome.
Yes, exactly. Well, thank you. Yeah, and I'll put the links to the sites, and also mention about the BK Movie Vault and the PM Pods for sure. But yeah, thank you for coming on, John. This was a ton of fun talking about some Bedroom Eyes and Bedroom Eyes 2 and the kind of the wackiness of this series.
I really enjoyed it, Matt. I really, really needed this tonight. And if we leave with nothing else, the fact that we got as far as to write Bedroom Eyes 5, in which Jon Lovitz pretends to be Kip Gilman, only to be ousted at the end scene, and everyone in the audience to be mad about it because they retconned the whole franchise, and now they've Jon Lovitzed it right up the Swanee, and everyone is just like, what is going on?
Right.
That, I think, that will stand as my legacy. So as they drag me away and burn my VHS out in the yard, then yes, just know that that's where we got to in life, and that's why it's important.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I think it's a perfect place for us to leave this. Well, thank you everybody for listening as well, and we'll be back soon. Bye, everyone.